are listening to the Mountainside Podcast, and this is a very special episode. We are recording with Caleb Brewer from Stick Sniper Archery in Tucson, Arizona. It was an absolute honor to spend this time with Caleb. He has truly been one of the most inspiring people to me in business and personal life. I'm honored and privileged to call him a friend. This was an incredible episode and time in Tucson, checking out Caleb's amazing operation at Stick Sniper, incredible staff, and their pursuit of mastery. Enjoy the episode. This is awesome. We're in the bow shop. I got a cool. Here we go. Thank you so much for the hospitality, man. It's rad. Walking in the door and checking out the shop is it's amazing what you built here, man.
Thanks, man. Yeah, we're pretty blessed to be here. It's an awesome place.
Like the biggest thing when I noticed when I walked in, it's like all the gear that I use is here. And like one of the things that I have trouble with at home, we have some incredible bow shops, but they only carry certain things. So it's like when I go to get a new bow set up, I got to go around town to get parts and pieces here or there. You know, it's kind of like building a hot rod or something.
When I looked at this place and was kind of envisioning everything that I wanted to have, I was like, what would I want if I walked into a bow shop? Like what do I want to choose from? Because a lot of folks nowadays can go buy stuff online. And so if they have a place that carries everything they want to have, you know, they're going to come buy it here and they get a chance to put hands on it and try it versus just looking at it online. So it's pretty cool. It makes it hard for us that work at the shop to just sit there and stare at it all day long because we want to put that on our bow too. So,
dude, yeah, this trip is going to cost me. By the time I leave here, it's going to cost me more money than I anticipated to spend. You know, I'm pretty set up, but I think I bought some shit yesterday and. Yeah, no, it's awesome, man. It's really cool. It's impressive. I'm excited to be here with you. Like,
thanks.
We don't travel much for the podcast anymore. We did for our 100th episode, and you know, I've done a couple when I'm kind of on the road with other people. Hey, Jansen, can you move this back? Sorry. So yeah, we've traveled a little bit, you know, here or there for the podcast. Like I recorded with Charles. Whitwam from Hal for Wildlife when we were in San Francisco, but I just happened to be there. So my first stop was to come to here, and we're finally doing it. And thanks to SABO and them, you know, helping fund some of it, we're able to come hang out with you for a day.
Dude, it's an honor, man, to be number one on the stop.
Everybody I did a virtual one with, I feel like I owe them an in-person, you know, if they weren't able to make it to me or something. And your virtual podcast stands out, man. We had such a good conversation and like dove into your background and went through so much like personal stuff. If it's all right with you today, I don't really want to talk about any of that.
I'm fine with that.
Okay. I want to talk archery with you, man, because like this is your passion, obviously, with the shop. You've been on so many amazing hunts. I don't even know where to begin. I guess I know that we kind of touched on like your transition out of the military, and it was a hard transition for you. But what was kind of that light or that guiding kind of pull or force or whatever you want to call it that was like, you know what I'm going to do is just bow hunt? And like, had you shot archery before? Did you hunt before?
No, never.
Really?
Never. Yeah. It's wild. I'm the kind of person that goes all into everything I do. I like to get really into the weeds and just obsess over stuff. So naturally, archery is a perfect thing for that because everybody that really gets on archery has a little bit of OCD to some level. But when I was recovering in Walter Reed in San Antonio, Texas, I had a guy who is now one of my good friends reach out. He was served in the 19 Special Forces group years before me, and he found out that I got hurt. And he has a foundation in New Mexico called Jesse's Little Warriors. And what it started out with was he saw a need for disabled and underprivileged kids that wanted to go hunting. So he took them out and he got them hunting. And he evolved to the point where I think he's gotten 4 or 5 totally blind kids to shoot a deer through a rifle using a spotter. And then he talks about how like bringing them to the deer and putting hands on it. And that's when it actually gets real for him. It's incredible. He's an incredible human being. And he reached out to me, wanted to take me on a sheep hunt, not ad hunt in New Mexico. I couldn't because I was still in the military recovering. So the next year, that would have been 2017, he took me on my very first hunt ever. And I never hunted in my life. I was outdoors a lot. And I ended up shooting a decent ram on the third day. I walked and I tripped and I fell. I missed shots. It was the typical full spectrum hunt of struggle bus, and ended up shooting a ram. And I was like, why have I never done this before? This is incredible because the people, he surrounded me with good people. He brought 3 of my teammates from the military, surprised me and showed up, and they were all there hanging out, drinking beer. It was so freaking cool. So I kept in touch with him after that, and I was like, I want to hunt. So then I started putting in for hunts here in Arizona. I ended up getting, cow elk hunts, deer hunts, and stuff like that with the rifle. And I was like, this is really cool. And then for some reason, one day I was just like, I want to shoot a bow. I was like, let's give this a shot. So my father-in-law had a real old PSE, and he gave it to me, and I started shooting it. Like, this is amazing.
Compounder?
Yeah, I mean, like a PSE Nova from the late 1990s, man.
Yeah, dude, let's go.
Had steel cables on all that stuff.
Yeah.
And you know what the first thing I did? Dry fired that bow. I dry fired it because
Really?
I didn't know anything about bows.
Did it blow up on you?
It blew up on. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, being that old.
Yeah.
Wow, dude.
I had to take it to the
because
all the little pieces,
scary.
all the metal pieces went ping, ping all over the room, and I had no idea what happened because nobody tells you not to dry. You dry fire your pistol and your rifle doing your drills. Nobody tells you not to dry fire a bow.
Right.
Yeah, that's the first thing I did with that bow.
Holy shit.
Oh, it was crazy. So I took it to the shop,
I wish
got
that
it
would have been
fixed.
on film, man.
Dude, the look on my face, I can't imagine because all the pieces exploded. I mean, it kept the cables on, thank God, but all the pieces from the string that had one of those plastic peep sights, the rubber tube, and that just went flying everywhere.
The one that had the little rubber tube that pulled on it. Those I haven't seen
Yeah.
those in a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy. And then it just from there, I mean, it's been a journey with.
So you didn't give up right then and there because you could have easily been like, "Fuck this, dude! Like, I don't want anything to do with it." But what'd you do? You took the parts and pieces to a bow shop, or
Yeah, and I think that the it blowing up and me not understanding why or what just happened, like, made me more interested in archery. It's like, what is going on? And it got me like really interested. So I took it to a bow shop. They got it fixed. I started shooting it. And I realized it was super old, and so I went and got another little bit newer PSE, and just started shooting and hunting. It took me all over the country, and I mean it's a kind of a long story, but basically
we got time.
I know, it's crazy. So I started shooting. I was really into it, and I started like really getting into it and I wanted to work on bows, and so I bought a little bit of equipment for my house, a bow press, a vise, some stuff. I made a string jig so that I could stretch out strings and start building them myself, and started like working on it in my garage. And I was like, this is amazing. I want to do this for a living. Like I could do like on the side. And then right then is when COVID hit, back in 2019. And at the same time, Black Rifle was starting their veteran adaptive shoots.
Right.
So they brought me and a bunch of really freaking cool Wounded Warriors over to Utah. They set up a private total archery challenge in the mountains. They brought, Knock on TV and all this, like had everybody out there and immersed
The
us.
who's who of archery, man.
Dude,
Dudley and all those guys.
Jack Carr, that's where I met Jack Carr, and we got to be in his book after that.
That's right.
But so they immersed us in it, and I was like, this is incredible. I want to do this. And at the same time, there was a nonprofit called Operation Enduring Warrior, OEW. They hit me up and they said, hey, we want to do something for veterans and first responders through our foundation. So me and a good buddy of mine, Jonathan Lopez, we started the archery program, and we worked it for about 1.5 years. And during that time, I'm still trying to plan. I'm like, I want to open up a shop someday, maybe something really small, because I know when you start a shop, you start from the ground, you scratch your way, up, and it's really tough. And I was planning to start my shop, and I found out that the owner of this shop in Tucson called Bull Basin Archery, which was the biggest shop, been around for 11 years, wanted to sell. And I was like, there's no way.
Oh, so this was an existing business.
This was 11 years been at this shop. And so I found a way to get in contact with the owner. I hit him up and he said, yep, I'm looking to retire. Fair, great guy, made a great deal, super fair and everything. And here we are 4 years later with Stick Sniper Archery. It's wild.
Dude, that's wild, man. Like that's crazy that it all kind of worked out. And
Dominoes.
Pieces like, yeah.
It's been dominoes.
It's almost like divine intervention. I've been using that plug a lot because I talk to so many amazing people, yourself included, and they have these moments in their life where they've, like in the last episode that we just did, or a couple episodes ago, I guess now, I had, a pro bull rider, Cody Lostro, in, and he had like this tumor thing going on in his neck. And he's like, I was in the field, like working cows, and like it fucked him up. It kind of ruined his bull riding career. Like this tumor, like he would have kept riding bulls, but it threw off his equilibrium and stuff because it was hitting the carotid artery. And he explained to us during our conversation that he was like in the middle of a field, like working cows or something on horseback. And he said he literally heard like God talk to him. And
No way.
These are people that I believe, man, because he's a guy that won't bullshit, you know what I mean? Like he's like, yeah, it's in your neck. You need to go basically figure it out. And
wow,
that's how he figured out that he had this tumor in his neck, which is crazy, right? But so anyways, it's just funny how it keeps coming up in conversation. And I've always dibble-dabbled around faith and all that sort of stuff. But like hearing that story and the timing of everything and the way it kind of went down, it's almost like divine intervention, man.
From the moment that I got that was injured in Afghanistan, the moment, everything that has happened since then has felt so natural. It's flowed so well. I'm not having to hustle in the streets. It just feels like this is the path that's been put out before me, that it feels like divine intervention. It doesn't feel like I'm having to force it in any way at all. It's crazy. Yeah, everything that's happened, dude.
It's funny because Jansen, we're on the ride up here, we were just having the same conversation. If you try to like force something or try to make something happen, or if you try really, really freaking hard, it's not trying hard, right? Like, I think you have to put that in. But it's like, just sometimes trying to force or make something happen quickly is really not the way to go. If you go into it with a little bit of a relaxed mindset and just be aware of your surroundings and look for opportunities more than like trying to push your way through them. Sometimes I don't know how to explain that, but dude, it's pretty cool.
It's hard to explain just the positivity and the good that's come from a lot of this stuff. And I've really worked hard in recent years to shift, like intentionally shift how I think about putting out positivity and good into the world with no expectation of anything in return. And it's helped me, dude. It has helped me. Like I literally have I've almost created this like mechanism in my brain that when I'm having a bad day or when something happens, I reset to think about the bigger picture, about how life is really good and this little thing doesn't matter, and just like trying to be good and have like as positive thoughts as I can and putting out positive energy into the world. And it's crazy how it affects your life. It makes you so much happier and everything is just better overall. Like the lens in which you look at things. It's really, to me, it's important. And I know maybe you take that thought, 10 years ago, everybody thinks you're hippie or Buddhist or whatever, but I think there's a lot to it about positivity and energy. Stuff is magnetism or magnetic, and you attract that kind of energy, like your thought process. It's super, it's real in my life, so.
It absolutely is for me. I mean, to the point where I have just like checks and balances. Like I know that these 5 things make me happy and make me go through my day happy. And if I don't check all those boxes, I'm not in a good headspace. So it's kind of like taking care of yourself a little bit before others, right? So you can walk into these spaces, whether it's the bow shop or your living room with your family, and just truly be present and feel good about that you've checked all the boxes. And that was a hard lesson for me to learn, because I just always grew up, the way I grew up was just kind of selfless, like you put your family before you, or I always chose to, that sort of thing. And to try to, that was a hard lesson for me to learn. I've only figured that out in the last like 5 to 10 years, like slowly, very slowly.
It's tough, man. It's tough. I had somebody say that you gotta, when you're in an airplane, they're given the safety briefing. They tell you to put on the O2 mask on yourself before anybody else. And it's like, you have to be able to take care of yourself in order to take care of everybody else as good as you should, and that's a hard thing to learn because you just want to put everything else in front of you. But you really got to be at your best in order to be at your best for them.
Absolutely.
But yeah, man, it's been good. Like I it's going to sound crazy, but I have
I love crazy, dude. Let's go.
all right. So when you're having I've learned like to think about my body and how I react to like a situation. Like something happens, a bad day, stressful situation, you read a crazy news line, headline, you start to like clench your teeth, and you're thinking these thoughts. And I've learned to literally like recognize that circuit is running through my brain and how it's going to affect me the rest of the day. And I have to like force my brain to start thinking in another direction. And I have a specific song by a reggae band called Stick Figure that I play in my head to reset my brain so I don't go into that negative path. And it's wild because it started in Afghanistan. We had a super tough trip. I know we talked about that. And I started listening to reggae every freaking night before bed. And it was to chill me out every night.
When you were deployed?
Revolution and the Dirty Heads. And the tones and the pitches of the music like chilled me out because we were angry all the time because of what was going on. It was tough. And that transition, I still listen to reggae to this day, and somehow like that particular song from Stick Figure just chills me out. It's weird. It's weird, and it's like
it's not weird, man. When I cut my teeth in the music industry, I cut it with reggae rock bands. Is where I started.
I love that stuff.
Former members of Sublime and this band Boondock Saints and this other band Genial, and it was freaking amazing, man. It was the best time that I ever had, and it was because of the music and the vibe, and like not because people were doing drugs, and not that there wasn't like stress in it, but I'm just saying like overall that music creates this sense of calmness, but also like awareness to me, because I'm very much like coming from the music industry, like music can change your emotion in a heartbeat, right? And I use it to change my emotion. If I'm in the gym and I'm about ready to go through some suck, like if I'm going to do a body armor or something like that, dude, we're listening to heavy metal, bro. Like, let's go, right? I need some more adrenaline. I need whatever it is to push through it. Or, but if you're just like cruising in the pickup truck, going fly fishing or something, some Stick Figure is freaking amazing. Or it's all kind of like your surroundings. And then seeing it live is just incredible. But like you're not the first person that's told me that's in these like high level intense situations where it's a fraction of inches between being knocked out or not, or for you it was life or death in a lot of situations, and then trying to deprogram from that. But becoming friends with like Luke Cadillo and Justin Gaethje and some of those guys, that's all Justin Gaethje plays in the gym, in the car. It's all reggae rock. Like even when he's in the gym, and he talks about it, just like keeping him in the right headspace. So that, dude, that's a crazy correlation.
There's something about it, man. Music is super powerful, like you're saying, and it's been really good to help me. Just that journey of learning to be aware of why you're thinking something. What are the physical manifestations of it? How can you fix it so it doesn't affect the rest of your day? It's been really good. A lot of self-talk, and it just helps you overall, become more resilient to all the nonsense in the world nowadays. So
absolutely. Yeah. We'll be playing some of that today, dude. Then.
Heck yeah, man.
Can I ask what the particular song is?
Shine.
Okay.
Shine. Yeah, there's just something about the way it starts out with the real high pitched tune, the notes, and then it just goes in, and you feel your whole body just chill out, flow. Yeah, I love it.
Have you ever been to a show at Red Rocks?
Mm-mm. In Colorado Springs?
I want to take you. No, it's 20 minutes from our studio, if that.
Let's do it.
It's right in Denver. It's iconic amphitheater. I just did a workout there. You can go there and work out. It's like a national park. Huh. So it's these natural rock formations that are built that were created, and it created like an amphitheater naturally. And they put a stage at the bottom of it, and it overlooks the city. Oh, dude. And it's crazy. They found all kinds of like Native American artifacts up there and Paleolithic stuff. And then also along that platelet, there's dinosaur tracks. They have a whole museum, but it's been an amphitheater, I think. Jansen, you might have to look that up. Like how long I think Red Rock started like in the early 1900s or maybe before that.
Oh, wow.
Where they built it as an amphitheater because you can go there. There's this native artist, and I wish I could give him a shout out. You can go there during the day. So a lot of people, it's kind of the pinnacle of their career is to play Red Rocks Amphitheater or whatever. But anyways, if you're standing on the stage and you can actually walk onto the stage as just a normal person when the park's open, as long as the band's not loading in, and if you yell, it echoes up those rocks, man. So like the sound is incredible, the setting's incredible, and then you put a reggae rock band in there. Like I got called the other night because Sublime has been put back together. I don't know if you've seen any of that.
With Rome?
No. So it's Bradley Knowles' son, Jacob.
Oh.
And it's insane, man. They're doing... Because I saw Sublime with Bradley a really, really long time ago, and I'm sure that there was all kinds of other stuff going on, but the show that I saw with Jacob was a better performance. Like, he's incredible.
No kidding.
And they are sticking to all the Sublime classics, like, your 40 ounces to freedom and all that. It's
we need
awesome.
to see that. All right.
And stick figures involved. There's a bunch of collaborations with, like, Jack Johnson and all this sort of stuff. But the actual show, you have to go figure out when it's happening. But I'd love to take you to Red Rocks to show, man.
Dude, let's do it. I need to make a trip up there anyways.
Try to figure out when stick figures come in, man. That would be rad.
Dude.
1941, and they started construction in 1936.
Oh, really? Okay. But before that, I think that it was like a natural amphitheater or something that they would use it for. I thought like in the 1800s or something. Anyways, not super important, but dude, iconic place. And then
let's do it.
I help out some nonprofits and charities here or there where I can with the podcast. So me and my son did a 5K up there the other day, just running through the rocks and stuff. I'll show you a little clip of it after that. Awesome, it's super rad.
Colorado's beautiful, man. There's so much stuff up there.
Yeah. Have you had a chance to hunt there yet? Or
never hunted in Colorado. I might go up there this year, September, if I get time, and help my brother if he gets an elk tag.
Nice.
And then my buddy guides over in Mancus, and I was looking at potentially getting over there for a do-it-yourself.
Okay.
Yeah, it is tough. The shop is a blessing, but it is tough to get away because I'm usually pretty involved in everything. So it is tough. Like,
especially that time of season, right? Because everybody's like last minute tweaks and changes and broadhead tuning. And
we get our season starts the last 2 weeks of August for deer, over-the-counter deer when they're in velvet, and it runs through the middle of September. So once July and August, September hit, it is ridiculous in here. We'll have a wait list with like 10 to 15 people on the waiting list, literally waiting for like 2 to 3 hours to get service. It's it's crazy. And then it pretty much continues pretty busy all the way into like March, all the way through. So it's tough to get away.
And then your staff wants to get out and hunt, right? Those guys that want vacation time and all that stuff right then, I'm sure. It's like...
Got 2 guys with primo elk tags this year in September, so we're going to have to be real good about staffing. Because we're really, like, I got an A team that works here right now. Like, we say that excellence is the norm now because these guys are so damn good at what they do. But because of it, it's big boy rules, and we have a lot of flexibility on schedules, and we want to support everybody's hunts. So because it's an incredible work environment. I loved being a Green Beret, but I really, really love this because of the people and the environment that I'm in right now. And so I support them through their endeavors. So you need to go on an elk hunt. Let's make it happen. Let's get the staffing. Let's make it happen. I'm not the kind of guy that says, hey man, you spent 15 years pulling this elk tag. I'm going to make you choose between coming to work or quitting to go on your elk hunt. Like, we're going to support it. And so we all grow. It's kind of like a work trip too, man. You're doing archery and hunting and stuff. So, but we support each other, and it's been good. Like, this is an incredible environment to work, and I'm not just saying that. It's very good.
Dude, walking in here made me feel so good. And then I got to tell you, like, firsthand, and I was going to tell you this off mic, but I'll just tell you it on, like, the hospitality that I felt and the feeling that I got the moment that I walked through the door. Because, like, you walk into some bow shops and, like, sometimes there's some egos in there, right? In a pro shop or something, or it's like, I know more than you, or like the moment you start throwing arrows down range, they're trying to tweak your shot or fucking coach you, or like, and that's all great. But like, there was none of that here, and your staff was unbelievable. The guys that were here yesterday, and like, you got a cool team, and Jonathan's here with you too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's gonna be here. He'll be here today.
Oh, that's rad.
This guy. He's an infantry veteran from the Army, and he's missing an arm, and he still shoots a bow. with a mouth tab. He pulls 84 pounds with a mouth tab. And he taught himself how to tie a D-loop with one hand and how to fletch arrows with one hand and how to build and cut arrows with one hand. We have this draw board behind me that he can actually draw back a bow and check its timing with one hand. It's crazy. The dude is an absolute animal, and he's an example of the type of person that we have working in here. Like I have 90% of my folks here are retired military law enforcement guys that are on their second job, and it's a passion. And it's good, man. We just treat people like you want to be treated. We take care of their equipment like it's our own. There's no pressure. We work on everything. And when I say everything, we've had Amazon Chinese bows come in that have plastic cams coming in. Plastic cams coming in here. This person bought this bow for like $100 or whatever it is off Amazon. And you look at this bow and you're like, this is going to blow up on them someday, without a doubt. But, yeah, we work on it all, and it's been good, man. It's like a home, and we're trying to build a community.
It very much feels like a team. Like you guys were having such a good conversation when I bought that little kickstand or whatever for my boat yesterday. I was like, I felt bad like interrupting you guys. I was like kind of listening into the conversation. I was like, how does this thing go on? So it's cool, man. There's nothing like being around the boys or having a good team, man. I got a great team here at the Mountainside and great support and stuff like that. But I'm very picky about who you kind of let in that circle, I guess, because like you get one person that has that negative outlook or hasn't listened to Stick Figure or hasn't, checked themselves at the door, and it can ruin it for everybody, man. It's like having a bunch of like-minded people and in a space. And I think one commonality that I've found in just people that are super successful, and I've talked to a lot of people that are super successful, it's, they work hard themselves, but it's always about the people that are holding them up. And I've kind of taken that philosophy too, and in other careers, not just the podcast. It's like you're only as strong as the people kind of holding you up, and because you can't do it all yourself, right? It was very much a team mentality.
Yeah, it's definitely people driven, community driven first, and kind of, going down to the next level. It's like, it's definitely about the people that come here and choose to spend their time and money here. It's not about the profit. The profit and the money will come secondary, because we value the people and we don't want to like treat them badly. We want them to feel welcomed and valued here. And the employees, like I said, we do everything with, like, this is a very non-typical work environment as far as like scheduling and responsibilities and pay and all that stuff. It's very non-typical, and that's why it's so awesome. Like, we're not sitting here, hey, you got your Monday to Friday 8 to 5 kind of thing. This is big boy rules. And I'm super particular about who comes to the shop, and I tell them that I'm going to treat you as an employee, as a fire and forget employee. In the military, that term means you fire your bullet, you forget about it because you know it's going to hit its target. And that's how I treat everybody here until proven otherwise. And it's been awesome. It's been freaking awesome having these guys that are like self-starters and like, yeah, this needs done. I need to fix this. I want to make this better on their own initiative. It's freaking, it's awesome.
So giving them, not micromanaging it all, right?
Like, not at all.
Here you go.
Yep.
Fix it.
We're going to succeed as a group, and everybody sees the group succeeding and moving up and progressing and going forward, and everybody sees it, and they're like, I want to be part of this. And so that's why we get to be very particular about who we let work here, because it's a privilege is what it is. Like, I don't look at it any other ways. It's a freaking privilege to be here for me too.
It's almost a team mentality, dude, then, yeah.
100%, yeah. So
that's rad, man. Yeah, what a great, when you were going down that path, was that something that you envisioned right away from the get-go? Or like, being in special forces, that's all built on teamwork and all that sort of stuff, and being a Green Beret and like, the amount of training that you guys put in. Did you take like some of those philosophies and cross them over to this to make that happen? I'm sure that it bled over a little bit, but
dude, At no point in my life would I sit down on my life bucket list and was like, I'm going to be a business owner. No, never. Yeah. It just became something that I wanted to do. Like, it became I saw an opportunity and I was like, this would be really cool. And I really enjoyed it. But it's crazy how many similarities there are between Green Beret training and running a business. Because when, like, when we go into a country, we go with an ODA, a team, 12 dudes on a team. You go into a country and you are in charge of your mission, and that could be just you guys. You don't have Big Brother or somebody looking over your shoulders. It's a bottom-driven mentality where you as the team tell your higher command what you need to make the mission successful. Your higher command doesn't say, hey, here's our mission, you need to do the mission. They're going to give you an intent, and then you make the mission and tell them what you need. So it's like there's a lot of onus on you, and with that comes a lot of like potential to make a bad choice, and you can get in some trouble for it. But if you can take it and run with it, so you are responsible for all kinds of stuff, and they teach you how to do mission planning there, like from start to finish on any mission. What do you need? Logistics, communication, medical, weapons, all that stuff from start to finish. And so you get to look at a project from a huge high level and say, what do I need to do? And you look at every layer in depth on what you need. And then you as a person on team are potentially responsible for managing 20 to 50 people from another country when you go work with them. So like, say you go do a training mission somewhere in Southeast Asia, each person on the team integrates with a amount of people, soldiers, sailors, or whatever from their military, and you're responsible for training them and working with them. So, you say you got 20 people from Thailand that don't speak very good English, you have an interpreter, and you have to work with them to accomplish the objective. It's not that much different from working in a business where you have to work with people and from different environments and backgrounds who respond to different communication differently, and you want to succeed as a group. So all those skills from being in the Green Berets translated into the stuff, and it's been like weirdly like super fluid getting into the stuff, looking at all these things. It's weird because, like I said, I didn't want to be a business owner. It's not something I was like my goal, but because of all that training, felt very natural to get into this position and do it. And then from the team mentality, on an SF team, there's rank, but everybody is like a man, or nowadays whatever, but everybody's equal because everybody's equal as a human being first, and then your rank. So that's how we treat each other here at the shop. Sure, I'm the owner. I'll go clean the bathrooms. I'll get in the bench on the bench and work on a bow. I'll integrate with talking to a customer. Like we all do the same stuff, and it's good because in corporate America, there's managers and supervisors, and they don't necessarily know how to work with you, and they sit at their desk and tell you what to do without being willing to do it themselves or setting the example. So we all set the example for each other, and it's been awesome.
It's crazy the amount of accountability that's left. I mean, there's an extensive amount of training, and I don't know, just speaking from the cuff here, you can give us firsthand experience that is put on guys that are operators, basically, right? Or in special forces or Green Berets or MARSOC or whatever. There's so many different branches and so many different organizations, but like playing at that very, very high level as an operator or a Green Beret, or I don't know if I'm getting the terminology right, but the amount of accountability, and then just being self-driven and problem solvers, really, right? And I guess that's when you own a business or have a podcast or have a creative thing or something, like problems come up, right? And you
all the time,
you have to if you just sit there and let them happen to you, it's horrible. You kind of have to make an action plan to get around them or through them or whatever. In that space, like when you were in the military, I'm sure at some point you had to like report back to the command or talk to some sort of commanders and debrief them on what happened and why you made this decision or whatever. Like, do you have anybody like that in business, like mentors or something? Did you have anybody you could lean on, or did you just build this all by yourself, just figure it out?
I had two business partners. One of my business partners is my best friend from high school, and he actually lives in the UK. He's military, working for NATO. I talk to him all the time, and he did a little business training in college. He's has dabbled in a bunch of different things, but we talk all the time. But I don't have like a mentor. going back to like I obsess over everything, like in a positive way. Like I want to know the details. I want to know how it works. I want to know how I can fix it and make it better. And so I just jumped right into this freaking thing, man. I just jumped right into it. And when I first got into it, there was a manager who'd been here for a long time, really great guy, had a lot of experience and was running the operation. The employees were already here. So it was running. And so when I came in, I got to sit back and just kind of watch and assess a little bit. And then kind of slowly integrate myself into things that I thought could be better. And then a couple years down the road, my manager ended up taking a position at a archery manufacturer. So I was like, oh crap. So now I need to find a manager or I need to jump in. So I just jumped in. And then I learned all these little things. I was like, well, I can improve this. I can improve this. And so it's the story of my life on everything I've done is learning from trial and error. Usually what happens is I do something,
fire in that bow.
Bro, I break something and then I figure out how to fix it. Like working on cars, working on anything. Cause I take stuff apart. I usually break it and then I have to figure out how to fix it. And that's exactly what happened on this. I had to learn how to, through just trial by fire, getting into this thing. A lot of issues in the beginning not issues, but a lot of growing pains when I came in. And now it's like super smooth. We got like, it's a well-oiled machine now. It's really, really good.
That's amazing. I know that we briefly talked about this, but I want to do a little bit more of a deep dive on it. Like you talk about being a fanatic, and I call you guys archery nerds, which I'm one included, right? No disrespect. I mean that in the best way. Like you can go down some rabbit holes on whether it's shooting or arrow setup. Like there's so much, right? And there's so many different variables that you can add, whether it's a broadhead that you shoot or, I mean, it's crazy, right? Like you start getting into the actual science of a bow and what makes it go off, and then different releases. It's infinite, really. And you can tweak as much as you want. You can get as crazy as you want about it. And it's hard to get successful.
You don't reinvent the broadhead unless you're willing to break every rule in the book. Introducing the SABO Broadhead, featuring proprietary CRT carbon rod technology, a solid carbon fiber ferrule that enables our patented KBD kinetic drive blade deployment collar, delivering flawless mechanical expansion and unmatched durability. At impact, blades drive through with a devastating 2.75-inch offset cut, and if they meet resistance, they reclose and reopen, maintaining lethal momentum. Our ISC interlocking self-centering point design punches deep and stays true. The BRW blade retention washer keeps everything tight, flight true, and deadly accurate. It's the most comprehensively patented broadhead ever developed. A true evolutionary leap in design. Field point accuracy, bone-breaking performance, fully replaceable blades. SABO Broadheads. From the Stone Age to the Space Age. Get yours now at SABOBroadheads.com. That's SABO Broadheads.com.
At it too. Like it's not an easy thing. Like if you don't put in the time, I mean, there's a few guys that have natural ability, right? But there's a few guys that have natural ability in the NFL, but 95% of them have put in hard work, right? Or that time behind the riser is what I call it. You pick Stick Sniper as the name, which I freaking love because I've never really thought about it that way. It is very much like you really have to pay attention to all the elements: wind, elevation, whether you're shooting up or downhill, your body positioning, how you pull a trigger to be successful at archery, to be successful with a high percentage and target acquisition, and all that sort of stuff. Like it is very much like some long range shooting with a rifle or something like that. It's not like just pull up and pull the trigger and you're set to go, even with a compound with all the adjustable sights and stuff. So I just think it's such a cool name, and you have it branded so well. Like you guys have awesome shirts and hats and all that sort of stuff. But I wonder how many people like really get the true meaning. But like to me, I'm fascinated with it. I was like, how does nobody else have this already? And like, how did you come up with that? And is it that same sort of correlation? Like
I never went to sniper school, but we did a lot of inner team training, building your dope charts and milling everything, and, looking at all the environmental factors and all that stuff. And I remember, I think it was 2019 when I was prepping to go to that black rifle shoot. I had my bow and I didn't have a target, so I went to Walmart and I got one of those little really cheap foam targets. It was like that stuff you get a cooler, like a one-time use cooler, man. I didn't know nothing. And I was like, man, I've seen all these videos. I read all this stuff. I need to be able to shoot far. So I was like, I need to shoot 100 yards. That's my goal before I go to this trip. And so I started building out my sight tape. Didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know anything about first, second, third axis. I didn't know anything about proper spine. I just got these arrows and made sure they were the right length and started shooting them and building up my tape. And I remember sitting there and I finally hit it 100 yards, my first shot. And I was like, dude, I feel like a freaking sniper right now. This is awesome. Because the bow wasn't even shooting that fast. And I watched the arrow just sail like,
dude, it's crazy too.
Dude.
Like, I love shooting long distance range, and Jansen hunts long distance, like, so I probably shouldn't be telling the story, but another amazing place I want to take you is American Bowman when you come up. It's a 3D course. It's gnarly. It's a lot of fun, man. It's, a lot of hiking. It's quiet. There's no human influences really. There might be one truck that goes down the dirt road that kind of splits the course, or you might hear an airplane go over. But other than that, it's quiet out there, man. But they have some long shots. You can shoot like 150.
Nice.
Yeah, somewhere in there. If you get creative, there's 120 on just kind of the flat range. But out there, we were doing like some 250 to 300 yard shots. And it's so much fun, man, because you are like doing that iconic Braveheart scene, where they're just like all the archers are lined up and their bows are just like pointing at a freaking cloud. And you just watch the arc of your arrow and then drop into like a 3D bison or something. Yeah. It's so much fun, man.
I love shooting long distance, especially for tack and all that stuff, because it amplifies any kind of inconsistencies you have. And if you know that you can hit a target out to 100 yards, you know that anything inside of 100 is really easy. And nowadays, the equipment is so ridiculously good that you can be super accurate, but that it won't take away from the fact that you got to take in wind, the animals, if you're going to hunt long distance, animals, mannerism stuff. Mm-hmm. But sometimes you only have certain shots, and that's just the reality of it. And out west in Arizona, when you're hunting mule deer and coos deer, you're not getting 15 yards out of a tree stand out here. It's not going to happen unless you're sitting in water. And we get to talk to a lot of customers out here, and I would say the average shot out here is 60 to 70 yards on a deer.
Oh, in the desert? Because there's not
there's
ton
no
of cover.
There's nothing. And so you have to shoot a fast, flat arrow, and you got to know your equipment. I actually have an interesting story about that. It's a little longer one, but it's about this antelope hunt that I had.
Let's just dive right into hunting stories from here. I want to circle back to, whenever you want, circle back to stick sniper, because I think there's a lot that goes into it too. Like when guys start shooting super long range with a rifle, they have to start thinking of ballistics over travel over space, right? Mm-hmm. Like, because you start losing energy and whatever the projectile is, and like drop and like all that sort of stuff. So I think it's just super cool, man. Like,
it's a lot, man. And a lot of long range tie in at the end of the story. But 3 years ago, I had an antelope hunt, and archer antelope hunt, Unit 10, Arizona, primo hunt. And I go in there and I'm like, man, I'm gonna sit water. I'm gonna sit a blind. And my first time hunting antelope, little did I know that I should have picked it up, but the animals change their patterns because the monsoons come in and everything turned green during the hunt when it was brown before, all the water puddles everywhere.
Is this the drowning story? Or almost drowning?
Yeah, dude, it was wild. Shit. So I couldn't sit water, so I hunted for 2 weeks by myself straight, slept out of the back of my freaking truck, and I walked like 60 miles on foot. I stalked, I sat. I had this herd bedded one time, and there's no cover, so I freaking dropped my pants, took off my prosthetics, put my pants back on, and I freaking football crawled like 200 yards to these guys. And by the time I got there, they decided they're going to get up and move. So I'm in the middle of the day. I'm just like,
it's not funny, but I've been there, dude.
So I had to crawl all the way back, put on my pants. It was just, I was miserable on that. So I had this buck and doe that I tried to move in on, and then they spooked. They didn't want to see a decoy. I tried to decoy them, and they went down across a little, very shallow wash up into some rocks. And so I followed him across. It was like a mile away from my truck. And I'm sitting there and it starts raining. And I was like, oh crap. So I put on my poncho. I start texting my wife and FaceTiming her. And then like 30 or so minutes later, a little bit more than that, it's not stopped raining. And I'm like, crap, dude. So I hadn't pulled my poncho off until then. I pull it off and there's a freaking beginnings of a flash flood in front of me, like 10 feet in front of me, because I was sitting right on the edge and I was waiting for him to come around. And I was like, shit, man, I got like a 3 to 5 mile walk around all this stuff through other flooded areas to get back to my truck, go all the way around. And it's getting dark. It was starting to get dark. Or I can test the depths of this water. And if it's only a couple inches, I'm crossing it. So I loaded up all my gear. I put my bow on my back.
You probably have 50 pounds of gear by the time you're carrying your bow and everything.
Oh, my God,
like a full kit, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I freaking grab my hiking poles. I'm in my rain gear now, hiking poles, and I start kind of going down this bank to test it. And I slipped and fell because it turned into slush. And I rode it like a slide straight into the water. And that water was about 2 to 3 feet deep at that point, and it's raging. And so I'm like, oh shit, and it just takes me like that. It takes me. And so I'm going down the water, and it's getting deeper and deeper and deeper. And I was like, oh shit. So I freaking drop my poles, let them go, and I'm trying to lay on my back and kick my prosthetic legs. Nothing. And I'm starting to sink a little bit. So I drop my pack, I let it go. It has my keys to my truck. And I'm like, shit. And I'm in my rain gear, and now I'm not touching the ground anymore. And now I'm going under the water. And I'm floundering and come back up, and I'm going back down, and I'm coming back up, and I'm going back down, and I'm starting to get heavier and heavier.
So this is a river at this point.
This is a freaking raging 10 foot deep at least, or if not more. And I know
and there's probably debris and stuff in it, right?
There's a basin, and there's a basin like a half mile down that's like a quarter mile wide and like 30 feet. And it was dry, dude, before this came in. And so I know that basin's there, and I'm like, oh shit. So then I'm like fighting for my life, like legit. And when I got blown up in Afghanistan, I didn't think about this stuff because of the shock. It happened so quick. This time I'm thinking it through. I'm like, oh, here it is. This is about to happen. Like, I am going to die, and thinking through. And I was like, and I'm just fighting. I didn't stop fighting, and coughing up water. And finally, by the grace of God and some sort of divine intervention, the flash flood came around a little bit of a corner, and I just happened to be on the side because I was right in the middle. I couldn't do anything. So I was on the side, and I felt the bank on my left side. So I like dug my hands into the bank, and I scratched and pulled myself out of the water. And I'm laying there, and the water's right here on my right side, and I'm just like breathing and like coughing up water. And then the water starts rising. And I was like, oh shit. So I like sideways rolled like 10 times up the little like slope in the mud, and I'm laying there, and it starts rising again. And I'm like, fuck. So I had to like get up and stand up, soaking wet, covered in mud, grabbed like somehow there was a big stick right there, and I stood up with it, and I like freaking hobbled out and got onto higher ground. And I'm sitting there looking, and I see my pack had got hung up on a tree where like right next to the raging water. So I had my cell phone. My cell phone still worked. So I freaking called the sheriff's department. They sent their search and rescue guys in, and I told them where to come into. They still came on the opposite side of the river where my truck was, and they walked all the way down to the river. It was like, there's no way they're getting through. So they had to back out, go all the way around through the mud. They almost got stuck coming out multiple times and get permission from a rancher. So it took a while, and I'm sitting there, and I watched the water go up really high, and then it starts going down, and it receded to where my pack was.
And it's dark at this point.
Dude, yeah. So I have my freaking headlamp because I always carried in my marsupial harness. And the water goes down, and my pack is still there. So I grabbed that stick. I was like, fuck this, I'm going to get my pack. So I hiked all the way back down there, grabbed my pack, hiked back up. And by that time, the sheriffs came, and they grabbed me, put me in their truck, and they drove me to the road. And they had the ambulance there. They checked me over, and I didn't have a scratch, a bump, a bruise, nothing.
Not even from digging in? Or
Nothing at all.
Wow.
And they're like, hey, so we're going to advise you to go to the hospital to get checked out, but we can't see anything wrong with you. And I was like, take me to my truck.
Yeah.
So
where's your bow at this point? Sorry, stupid question.
It's on the back of my pack.
Oh, okay. Thank God.
It was on. The only thing I lost out of there were my hiking poles, were at the bottom of that basin somewhere, but I had a spare set. That's the only thing I lost out of there. Everything still worked. So
damn, dude, you're lucky, man. That's
I've
crazy.
never been that close to death where and I've had some close calls aside from everything, and I've never been that close where I got to sit there and think about it and be like it was to me, it felt like it was within seconds of me going down and not coming back up. Like that's what it felt like, the panic that caught in.
So that basin too that you talked about. So it's just like a straight drop into like mini Grand Canyon, right, or something.
Huge open basin. And the water was flowing into it, and the banks, because I hunted in that basin around it when it was dry. I mean, they were like 30 feet tall on a slope. So if that had filled up with all that water, I would have never come out of there, dude.
Damn,
it was freaking crazy.
Yeah.
And so,
are you taking swimming lessons,
dude?
No,
I can swim.
Funny. What a dick question,
bro. I was about to ditch my prosthetics because I can swim really good. I got scuba certified and all stuff. Like I can swim really good without my. But I was like, man, if I ditch these legs, I'm not getting them back. And that was my next step, was dropping my trowel, dropping the prosthetics, and then I would probably go up a little. But I had my rain gear on and my bino harness, and it was holding in all my weight.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy. So it went to go from that, and then being sitting there in my truck, and then God bless my wife, because I called her and I told her what happened. I said, don't freak out because I'm okay. And she literally was like, I know what you're going to do. I know you're going to keep hunting, so just be safe.
That was my next question. Like, how soon were you back out there? Did you even go home or
I didn't go,
or anything?
I stayed out there, man. I stayed out there.
Savage,
I spent the next day drying out all my clothes. I went to town and got a bunch of water, used my cooler as a wash bin, cleaned it all up. I hunted for the rest. That was on day 9, and then I hunted the rest of the 5 days. I had some missed shots. One of my release malfunctioned because it had mud in it, and I didn't clean it, and I missed a really nice buck at 60. Oh, no, I didn't miss him. It went off. It went off prematurely as I was drawing. So yeah, but it was a learning experience because like I'd never hunted antelope, and it was tough, and it's already a tough one for spot and stock archery. And I mean, 2 weeks, 60 miles, or walking on foot, sleeping on the back of my truck, almost drowning. And I was like, I'm never doing this again, man. Never.
Yeah, man. There's moments where I've lost my shit in the backcountry where you're just like, no matter how positive you are or anything like that, there's been moments where I'm just like, motherfucker, man, this sucks, dude. Like, why do I put myself through this? But every September that rolls back around, I'm just like, got the bug, got to get out, got to figure out work, got to figure out family, got to figure out a way for me to be in the backcountry. You know, it can be fucking miserable. It can be life or death situations when you're out there. I mean, I've had some close calls with a few falls and stuff like that where I was like, fuck, if I would have fell into that hole, you know, going over some rocks or something, especially when you start like traversing on some of like, when you get above tree line, it gets for real, right? Like there's a lot of unstable ground, unstable rocks. Like you're dealing lightning a few times. Has scared the shit out of me, but like that's just kind of part of being out there. Like Mother Nature will put you in your fucking spot because you get to the point where you get a little complacent because you're just chasing the animals, you're chasing the thrill, you're chasing the hunt. And I tend to start getting almost too comfortable and a little bit complacent when it comes to like
because you've done it so much.
It's just normal to be out there and like even going to American Bowman, there's one shot, and I don't know how they've set up this side of the course that can only be open in the summer because it's north facing slope. So it's just covered in snow and it's a liability. It's really steep, right? A lot of up and downhill shots. There's also like a 50-foot cliff shot. And you kind of have to traverse to it. And they've made it kind of easy. Like they put in a rope to kind of help you get across to it, like a little sideline or something, you know. But you're not like clipping in or anything like that. And then you kind of have to crawl up on these rocks. And then when you're taking the shot off of that cliff, I mean, you're leaned over it to get to the target. Like the target's like right below you. And it's like, it's cool. They set it up very Western hunt with like a ram. So, I mean, you're really leaning over the edge. And it feels foreign with a bow, man. Like you're trying to look through your peep and
it's tough.
Yeah, it's rough, man. So I'm just like,
that's good training.
If I'm doing that twice a week, my chances are pretty good of fucking falling off that 50-foot cliff. And, you know, I just try to be careful. But like if you start getting complacent, and I've caught myself up there getting complacent just because I shoot it so many times, you know. Normally I'm up there by myself, but So it can even be a situation like that. But then you throw in the hunting element and you start chasing animals. There's been times where I'm so in tune with just watching the animals and what I'm doing and trying to move too quick that I've fallen doing that.
Oh,
I've blown out elk because of that. Like, look like Chris Farley falling down the side of a mountain, you know, and it's a fucking yard sale. And thank God the bows are just incredibly tough how they build them, man. Like I shoot a Matthews and dude, I've fallen with that bow so many times and it's been through some shit.
Yeah, I fall all the time. And it's to the point where I've fallen so many times that I just yell parkour, and everybody knows if they hear me say parkour, they know it's good. If they don't hear me say parkour, then they know something's wrong.
Right.
Dude, it's crazy, man.
Well, I'm happy you're still here, dude. That's a wild story, man. I've never had to experience anything like that, but
I've had a lot of close death experiences throughout my life, thinking about all the stupid shit you do as a kid and leading up to adult and all these things. And it's very, very, very grateful to be alive. But to tie it back into that long distance shooting. So 2 years after that hunt, I find myself with the exact same hunt again. The exact same hunt. And I'm sitting here like, oh my God. Like a lot of the anticipation, nervousness and stuff. And I was like, I'm going to go about this a completely different way this time. And so I scouted a bunch and I found a buck that was super territorial in a real flat, totally flat grassland with zero cover and super territorial. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to adopt the military mindset on this. These guys can see me during the daylight hours. I'm going in under the cover of darkness. So at 3:00 in the morning, I hiked 1.5 miles into his freaking bedroom, set up a decoy, sat there with it. That sideways Montana decoy, sat with it and looked underneath the legs. And he was a little further when the sun came up than I thought. And I moved it around a little bit every time he looked my way. I'm looking through my binos at him underneath the legs, and he kept seeing it. And then he'd go down, he'd feed and scrape, and he'd come up, and he'd come up, and he kept coming closer and closer and closer. It took him 2 hours to come 1 mile all the way to me. And by the time he came to me, it was happened quick. And so I ranged what little grass I could, and I went to go draw back, and he ran behind me. And I missed a shot over his back because I didn't range him when he was to my side. And then he went behind me and started running away. So I had an antelope call and started blowing on it. And he was like, he stopped as he's running away, turned around, started blowing at me, and came back. And I was like, oh, I'm going to shoot him. This is good. And I range him, and he's at 110 yards full frontal. And I was like, here we go. I practiced for this moment, and I drew back, and I freaking center punched him right in the chest. Just straight frontal in the chest, 110 yards.
Damn, dude.
And he fell over dead. And I sat there, and I was like, holy shit. Like thinking about 2 years ago versus right now. And then I thought through all the and people don't like to talk about shooting long distance, but sometimes you don't have that choice. In an antelope country, sometimes you need to be prepared to shoot far. So what I did for 6 months leading up to this thing, I built out a long range precision setup with the best possible equipment I had, and I shot every freaking day from 80 to 130 yards because I knew from the last one that's their buffer zone is in there. And I shot every single day, and I knew that I needed to be ready to do this. And so I was prepared. I was fully confident in my equipment. The only reason I missed the first one is because I thought I didn't re-range him. This time I was like, I don't care how long it takes. I'm going to sit there and make the perfect shot. So I ranged him, and he sat there and stared at me, and I made the perfect shot. It was like when I felt like I won the Super Bowl. And it was a full fucking circle coming around, man. It was the most incredible feeling to do that. And people don't like to talk about long range shooting. I get it, but you got to know your equipment, the animal's mannerisms, and everything. And I knew that my arrow was traveling 310 feet per second with a 440 grain arrow, fast. I knew it was fast, and it ended up happening. It was just crazy. And I sat there and thought about the stick sniper name and all the prep work and everything that goes into that to be successful. I'm not saying everybody should do that, but if you're willing to put in the work and the time and the training, your equipment, and you can be successful doing that stuff, especially in the antelope country when there's an inch of grass for 10 miles spread, there is zero cover. Like you got to work with the situation you're given. So it was awesome. It was freaking awesome, dude.
That's super rad, man. Like that's fucking incredible to make that shot and frontal, like,
from a seat, I was sitting on the ground.
Damn, man.
Yeah, it was crazy.
That's badass.
So-
and antelope aren't big. Like their thoracic is pretty small, you know? Like
Yeah.
that's amazing. Even, you know, like what are they probably like maybe 12 inches?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, and it was
from the front,
perfect in the center. It was perfect in the center. And then the arrow buried all the way in. And my buddies were on the spotting scope, and they watched it, and he ran like 40 yards and fell over, and it was like the most incredible thing.
That's
the
dope.
most incredible.
Yeah,
thing.
I don't think people understand either that haven't been there or done that or shot long range. I think the furthest that I've ever 70 yards is the furthest I've gone.
It's a poke. It's definitely a poke.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, in antelope, like if anybody's ever shot Total Archery Challenge or 3D shoots, you know that the size of the target and the environment can change how it looks. Like if you have
there
like
can
a
be
hollow
one
shot,
tree branch or a
oh my God,
cactus or something or that you just don't see in your arrow flight.
Oh,
It can change everything, right?
But like, so when I see this antelope in the flat grassland, and I look at him with my eyeball, and I'm like, man, he's maybe 60, 70 yards. And then you range him and see that it's that far. It tricks your mind. So it's the terrain around you can make you think that it's further or closer away than it is.
Oh, absolutely. I do it all the time at 3Ds. If you're shooting, especially in the mountains or something, you'll be like, really, that elk is 37 yards? It looks like 20 yards to me. Like I would naturally just set my sight if I was just guessing. You know, it messes with you, man. And there's some real science behind it, right? Like when you get into that long range stuff, and then also like being super accurate. And it's crazy because I was looking over at Jansen just smiling, and we had the same exact conversation you were just talking about, like shooting long range and how it's like frowned upon in the archery industry. And like a lot of it comes down to like those kinetics and like arrow weight and how much penetration you're going to get at that far and that sort of thing. But with like the technology in these bows nowadays and like all the amazing line of bows that you carry in here, whether it's Bowtech, Hoyt, Matthews, Darton, I mean, they're all them being in competition has made them all better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like it's like the car industry, but like high end cars, right? Like performance cars. And archery is very much like that. And then also it comes down to having a good local like pro shop. Like you can't just go to Cabela's and find a good Bowtech.
No,
like, or I never have, and I never do. I don't even waste my time. You know, it's like I think that's where these businesses thrive, is in the actual like setup and tuning and knowledge, right? Like if you have guys that actually hunt behind here and that can give you some advice on arrow weight or maybe the right broadhead or something like that. And then also it comes down to range, right? Like you can't shoot a fixed blade. You can't shoot a fixed blade broadhead more than, because I've tried. Once you get over that like 80-yard mark, your arrow will start doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And I love shooting a fixed blade broadhead, but like it's almost got to go to like a mechanical type situation or a hybrid like SABO or something like that. You like to get that long range, you have to start looking at all these little variables. Like if you had one fletch that was ripped a little bit or something, that could make a difference in that arrow flight, you know, moving 6 inches, and you move 6 inches on an antelope,
huge.
you could be screwed.
Yeah. It's about knowing, it's in the military, and I love using military terminology because it applies to life, but it's knowing your operational environment and understanding your operational environment. In every situation, you obviously you want to get as close as possible. That's the real gangster move, is getting super, super close like a ninja. But certain situations don't allow for that. In this particular situation, I had no opportunity to get any closer at all. Like I based on my other experience, I had no opportunity. So that's what I was like, I recognized that leading up to the hunt, and I planned everything around it. I mean, you freaking paper tune your bow multiple times, you knock tune, you shoot your broadheads out to distance, you practice in the wind, you practice with you build the stabilizer set up, the speed of the arrow, everything. You build that all up for your purpose-driven hunt. If I'm shooting whitetail out of a blind, or if you're hunting elk, you know, in the woods, you should ideally have a different setup or know your equipment so that it can do it. But there's so much that goes into that, like building up your equipment. And here at the shop, we tune, and we have an incredible amount of knowledge for tuning, because there's so much that goes into it, and the shooter's grip, the shooter's facial pressure, their stance, their arrow setup, the knock tune, the paper tune. There's all these things that go into getting to somebody to shoot properly, and people don't realize it. So, for instance, yesterday we had a guy come in. He had kind of an like a mid-level bow, and we were trying to tune it for him, and he didn't know. He's just like, "Hey, man, I'm having some crazy arrow flight." So we yesterday was when we worked on it. We worked on this bow and worked on this bow and worked on this bow, shimming the cams, changing the rest, changing different arrows, all this stuff. Multiple employees trying to shoot it. Could not get that bow to tune. So we're sitting there and we just have our arms crossed and we're staring at the bow. We realized that the riser was bent. Like, so the entire top portion of the handle, the aluminum was either machined incorrectly or it had bent. So the top limbs were turned sideways and the cam was leaning like crazy. So we were like, no way. So we had to pull up another bow to compare it to. And sure enough, that bow is bent. And so we're going to send it back to the factory and have them get him another one or fix it or something. But I'm not saying that every pro shop would have been able to figure that out. I felt very fortunate that we were able to figure that out, because a lot of times we hear customers come in and they're just told by other places, just you need to shoot better, or there's nothing wrong with your bow, you need to shoot it better. And they'll give it like the 75% bless off. But we are so particular about the details that we want to eliminate any equipment issues so that it's all on the shooter. And that's the level we go to. Like, we're like looking at this bow. Everybody's walking around and looking at it to find out that the top portion of the bow is twisted and tweaked. So it makes it impossible to tune that bow.
Yeah.
It was crazy. It was super cool to be able to learn that and have that kind of experience under our belt for the future.
Absolutely, man. If you're not checking out the Mountainside Podcast on YouTube, you absolutely should be. If you like the content that we create here and you want to help support the podcast, please take a moment, subscribe to us on YouTube, and hit that notification bell.
You don't reinvent the Broadhead unless you're willing to break every rule in the book. Introducing the SABO Broadhead, featuring proprietary CRT carbon rod technology. A solid carbon fiber ferrule that enables our patented KBD kinetic drive blade deployment collar, delivering flawless mechanical expansion and unmatched durability. At impact, blades drive through with a devastating 2.75-inch offset cut, and if they meet resistance, they reclose and reopen, maintaining lethal momentum. Our ISC interlocking self-centering point design punches deep and stays true. The BRW blade retention washer keeps everything tight, flight true, and deadly accurate. It's the most comprehensively patented broadhead ever developed. A true evolutionary leap in design. Field point accuracy, bone-breaking performance, fully replaceable blades. SABO Broadheads. From the Stone Age to the Space Age. Get yours now at sabobroadheads.com. That's SABO Broadheads.com.
It's tuning a bow and being a bow tech. I really believe that it is an art, man. You can call it a martial art. You can call it, it is an art form to the point I should really learn. I should come down and take some lessons from you guys, man. Maybe today we'll get a little bit on just like some 101 bow tuning or something like that. That would be cool. But it is a true art form to the point where I only trust certain people with my bow, like my wife or my kids. Like, I treat my bow almost like an infant, right? Like, I hate to say that. It comes in like a hard plastic case, the best case you could freaking buy. I try to treat it with as much love and respect, and I've become emotionally attached to him. Like, this is my bow right here, right? I'm still shooting this V3, but that V3 has filled my freezer a dozen times since I've owned that, probably.
That's a phenomenal bow too.
Or maybe longer, and I'm just like, why get a new one if I'm like, as much as I want the new bow and I come in here and look at it, I almost bought a bow in here yesterday because I was looking at that long draw one that you have over there in the same color. And I was like, but I can't. I can't. There's like, I get emotionally attached, and I guess I'm probably too spiritual, but I get that way with like my blade, like hunt blades and like stuff like that. And I think about passing those down to my kids and that sort of stuff. And unfortunately, with compound bows, they kind of, over time, technology gets better, they get different, but but it's truly amazing. So I treat these things with like respect, right? So I only let certain people work on them, because I've had people like some archery shops that you walk into, and that was something I wanted to pride you guys on yesterday. Like, I just came in and just started throwing arrows, and not one person said anything to me like, hey, let me look at your bow, or how's your cam seem like the timing might, like you get that in some other shops. It was just like, hey, can I help you look at anything when I was out here, like true customer service. But that's a relief to me, just because I'm so particular about it. I know it works for me.
We are not pretentious. There's no pressure.
Right.
It's just, we want to treat you with kindness and respect, man. That's it, dude.
That's right.
Yeah. There's no reason for us to critique anybody, because everybody shoots differently. Everybody's form is differently. And
there's so many different forms too,
Dude.
whether you're shooting back tension or, hybrid between that and punching the trigger.
Yeah.
Like, and then
some people can punch that trigger pretty good.
Yeah. And then you have guys at a high level, like Cam is, I mean, it's a trigger press, but it's kind of a trigger punch in some guys' eyes. And then the cutthroatness of the industry just in general, like.
What's crazy is that, and I think about a lot of that, what you're talking about like the level of service and like the technical skill and stuff. So there is no body of education or training for the archery industry except for one, and that's very new. The ATAs, like an archery trade association, they're big nonprofit dedicated to furthering archery and promoting archery. They do stuff lobbying and helping with that. But they're starting a course, like it's like an online course and an in-person course to help
a bow
train.
tech course.
Yeah, so you do like an online portion. You pay your money, your fee, whatever it is. I think it's like $1,000. You do the online portion, and then they do in-person training certifications throughout the country, like 2-3 times a year.
So they're actually certifying guys then.
Certifying, but other than that, there is nothing. Is it
good?
Else.
Have you been through it?
I haven't. I wanna audit it. Not to sound like any kind of arrogant, but like we're really good here at what we do. I would love to audit it just to see it, because if it's worth like the money, I'll send all my guys there. Because right now there's nothing. Like, you go into any archery shop, you go into a Cabela's, you go to any pro shop at all, the manufacturers don't have any kind of like training.
Throwing you to the wolves, figure it out yourself.
Yeah. So say some dude in like Oklahoma in a real small town is like, man, we need a bow shop. Starts a bow shop, gets certified or gets authorized to sell Matthews, Hoyt, PSE, Bowtech, whatever.
Now you got to work on them.
Yeah, dude, and that's
hard part,
tough.
Right?
So if it and you don't know all the little tweaks on what specific bows do, like you're in trouble, man. It's easy to get the dealership and sell them. Actually, I don't want to say it's easy. It's a little tough, but that's the easy part. And then working on them and the warranties and the parts are really, really tough. And I got 11 years worth of scrap parts at the shop too when I bought it. So all these old cams and limbs and screws and all these things that help us when some obscure thing comes up and we need it. So that helped out a lot. And having the institutional knowledge of all these guys throughout the years from the mid 2000s all the way here, we're 2025, all these bows, like one of my main guys, we can have a bow come in and he's like, yeah, that bow, I remember that issue, those limbs or whatever. And he can give us the reference point for what happened before for everybody to work on it. And it's freaking cool. So we're really fortunate to have that knowledge, because somebody who's just starting out in the industry doesn't know anything about working on them. Where do you get your training? Is just trial and error. And then say you have issues and you break somebody's bow on accident or you have an issue, then it reflects on your shop. And not to say that they're
not going to come back.
Yeah, and you're just learning, but it's not like you're not being set up to succeed. So that's why I like the ATA's bow course for people that are getting into it. It's good to promote it, the professionalism of it. Man.
Yeah, no, it's an incredible art form. I'm so fortunate, with where I live and hunt and everything, with the amount of knowledge that's like right around me, and it's like there's a lot of it. There's choices that you can make, know, and I feel like everybody in Tucson is super fortunate to have this place, man, and you guys. It's hard to find. It's hard to find in certain spots. Just curious, and I don't want to thrive on this too much because I want to get back into some hunting stories because we're burning through time. But I've always kind of wondered, like, how's the support system from different manufacturers? Like, if you're having an issue that you can't figure out, can you call Apple support for Matthews or whatever? You know, like,
Oh, yeah.
hey, my iPhone's fucking up, or this bow, I can't get the cam to tweak this certain way or something like that. Is there knowledge base there, and can you actually like talk to somebody that knows?
Yep. That they got their tech support, they got their sales reps that they'll take good care of you. Like that bow that I was just talking about, we're going to send it back to the manufacturer. They're going to either replace it or fix it. They're really good about talking you through, and actually the whole industry. I don't have any, arrow, sight, rest manufacturer. All of them are really good about talking to you, and if there's any issues, you can send it back and have them fix it. Like I had one bow a couple years ago that it was a left-handed bow, and we could not figure out what was going on with it. Every time we tried to draw it, the cams would lean really bad, or they would come into contact with the cables, and we could not get it to tune it, and became like real unsafe. We tried every combination of like shimming the cams and tension on the cables to try to get it to fix. And so we sent it back to the manufacturer, and they're like, "We're so sorry. One of our new assembly line folks assembled it as a right-handed bow, so the limbs and the cams were swapped, and they should have been on the top, and the top and bottom setup should have been swapped." And they're like, "Here you go, we fixed it, we're good to go." And they sent it back, and I was like, "Oh, cool." So they admitted it, hey, somebody knew, because mistakes happen.
Right.
Sent it back to us, perfect.
That's
got that
cool.
bow out the door. So it happened, and it's like a auto repair facility. Like somebody brings in their bow, people break things break on their own. And then we fix 95% of the stuff at our level, and then other stuff we send it back in. But it's good. Like they're really good about working with us.
Yeah, I've always kind of wondered that, because like you're kind of, like you said, there's no like formal training. That's probably why I don't work on my own bows. I've always just leaned on somebody else's expertise.
Dude, it's intimidating if you don't know, dude. I don't know. Like,
yeah, and there's certain tools. Like we're sitting in front of these bow presses, and you got, there's all kinds of different stuff that you kind of need and have to have, right?
It's a lot.
Yeah.
We got a lot of tools, and I've had to beef up the amount of stuff that we have in the past couple of years, because we've seen a pretty good increase in people coming in.
That's rad.
So like an extra bow press, 2 extra
So you can
vices,
service more
drawboard,
people, yeah.
all this stuff. Yeah. Because like I said, in August, September, it gets crazy.
What is most of your clientele here? I know that there's a military base that's not far from here, right? Like, do you get a lot of active guys that come in? And
Oh yeah. Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I've actually developed a relationship with some of there's the Air Force, the PJs here on base. I've developed a relationship with them prior to doing this, and we just talked, and we started shooting bows together, and then they started referring people to come in, because we take good care of folks. We offer military discount. We're really community driven, and so more and more folks have coming in. But it's wild, and shooting a bow, that how therapeutic archery is. And so I'm seeing it for first responders and veterans, that they don't realize how good archery is to help them until they start shooting a bow.
Let's dive into this, because it's helps me mentally so much, and I think that there's so much. If you're on the fence, or if you have any inclination to shoot a bow, and you're going through anything in your life, I don't care if you were former military, first responder, if you work at Starbucks and you're tired of fucking, the million different ways you can order a coffee, a bow can help you get through that. It helps me with mental clarity so much, man. Like I felt so good leaving here last night, not only seeing you for the first time, but like just putting some arrows. 20, 30 arrows, whatever I shot yesterday. It just feels good, man. It's just like, you can't think about, it's a great stress reliever. Typically I'm doing it outside.
Yeah. Yep.
But in the atmosphere, it's just really good. So like, how much does it help you personally? And then how much have you seen it help people? Because you're seeing it firsthand every day with multiple people. You know how passionate people are. Like I just explained my bow being like a personal connection to me,
It's really, really good. And for anybody that is struggling or has stressors in their lives, shooting a bow is so good, man. It's Fred Bear. He's the guy that started Bear Archery. They call him the father of modern day archery. It's super cliche, but he says nothing clears a troubled mind like shooting a bow. And you could say, oh yeah, cool, just some saying, like, because you see all these motivational posters everywhere. But dude, if you walk out there and you shoot some arrows, just like you're talking about, it is unreal how it chills you out. And when you are focused on something other than your stressors or pain or bills or whatever, and you draw back the bow using your body's tension to hold it, and you're at full draw, nothing in the world can matter. You can't think about any of that stuff because your mind has said, nope, I'm going to focus only on the arrow, and it's you and that arrow. And then when you release the arrow, it's almost like a release of all the tension in your body, symbolically the tension of stress in your body. And then you hear it hit the target, and then you smile. It's a feedback loop, and it like releases all this stuff out of your body, dude. And talking about emotional connections of bows, I had my first Hoyt that I got when I got in the shop. I hunted with it for a few years, and I had a really good success in the field with it. And I had it sitting on the wall at my house because I got a new bow, and I was like, man, I don't want this bow to go to waste. I don't want to have it. I don't want to collect it, So I was like, you know what? We're going to do a giveaway. So I posted up, and I was like, on social media, I said, hey, we're looking for somebody who could receive this bow, who could benefit from it in their life, and it would help them out. Maybe they're new to archery. Maybe they can't afford a bow, whatever. It's a Carbon RX-7. It's well used.
That's a great bow,
dude.
man.
But I was like, I want to give it to somebody.
Yeah.
So we opened it up for a couple weeks, and I had hundreds of people apply, and they told me their stories. I had some deep stories about, having sexual trauma as a kid, having like serious injuries across the country, people like telling personal stories. At the same time, I had people saying, I just want a new bow. And so it was the full spectrum in between. At the same time, I had 5 other people come in and say, we want to join in on this. So I got 5 other bows.
No way.
New bows, used bows, 5 bows. So I'm giving 6 bows away. And so we had to sit and look through all the applicants of people. And it's hard to read into the details to see who's going to be good, because some folks just want a bow, and that's cool. I get it. But we're looking for somebody who could benefit from it. So we sat down as a group, we looked through all these people, we narrowed it down, and we had a lady, and she said, hey, my husband could really use this bow. He's a first responder out of Phoenix. It could really help him out. And we had a lot of similar stuff, and for some reason, I was like, I want to give that guy this bow. I didn't know much about him, but it just something struck me in my gut. And so we gave all these bows out. We gave this guy this bow. And I started talking to him on social media, and he's checking in, showing me pictures of his group. He's so excited to shoot. And I didn't realize the freaking impact that this bow could have on this guy, man. It's super powerful. And so he basically told me later on that he was stressed out in his job. He was unhealthy. He was angry all the time and had no outlet, no hobbies or anything. He hunted a little bit, but now that he's obsessing over archery in a positive way and he's shooting his bow every single day in his backyard, he's lost 40 or 50 pounds through being active. His relationship with his family is better, and he's happy and he's excited about life. And I'm just like, whoa. And it all came from a freaking bow, dude. And I cannot overstate enough how good archery is for the mind. And just that dude's example. I mean, there's 1,000 examples in my life of how it's affected me and other people, but this is the most recent one, talking to him. And it's just like, it could change your life. It could be the spark to change your life, shooting a bow.
Man, especially if you're a first responder, man. I don't think people realize the shit that they see, the shit that they go through, the shit that they have to deal with. And then not only that, it's like they're not around kind of that team mentality. A lot of time those dudes are solo, right? Like, I mean, the firefighters, you could argue, but I'm talking about like law enforcement. And then you got to park your squad car and get in your Prius or whatever, hopefully your Ford Raptor, drive home and turn that all off and sit with your family or whatever it is. Yeah, man, I think like taking that 30 minutes, like we just opened the podcast with, not to bring it back to that, but like taking care of yourself. Like if I'm having a really shit time or something really bad has happened to me, I know that if I just shoot 10 arrows, it's enough for me to kind of like think through it in between while I'm collecting my arrows or whatever. It just, like you said, it helps release that tension, that sort of thing. Dude, don't laugh at me, I've tried yoga. I've tried, I love going to the gym. I love lifting weights, but those problems are still there. I love being outside and going on a hike. That's fucking amazing. That might be number 2 for me to clear my mind. But still, you have all those distractions. You still have time to think about it and process. With archery, you don't. Like, the only other thing that I found is maybe riding motorcycles is a little bit, especially dirt bikes. Like if you're on a track or if you're on an intense trail, there is no time you have to stay present. You have to know what's ahead of you. You have to be paying attention, head on a swivel, or in a high traffic situation, you should be riding like that. And that also would clear my mind, but not like archery does, because I have a mantra. I have like a shot sequence. I treat it like a form of meditation, and it truly is for me, man. That
It very much
it makes me feel better. And there's two sounds, and we've talked about this on the podcast that really just make me like light up. And I think it goes back to like, maybe I'm thinking into it too spiritually or whatever, but this is my take on it. With as much time as I've spent hunting and being in the backcountry, and I honestly don't like to kill things. I don't. I get emotional.
Yeah.
I get emotional when something has to die. Like we had to put down a dog yesterday, and me not being there was like, it was a bummer, man. I got emotional last night. I was like, fuck, dude.
That's
like
tough.
I started thinking about, the times that you've had with the dog and that sort of thing. But I also feel that same way that I feel about my dog. Some mule deer I've stalked for 2 years, the same deer. Like I know it is, because I'm hunting in the same spot, and it's like you end up with a bit of emotional connection towards those animals, to the point where I've like kind of named them now. It's like, so when you're explaining to your hunting partners or telling the story or whatever, right? And so I go through an emotional roller coaster. But there's two sounds that just make me like light up and kind of take me out of it, and one is my arrow hitting something, whether it's a target, foam, hide.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
That slap is amazing. Like you just know, like, okay, I hit it.
Yeah.
And then you start going through the process. Where did I hit it? Like all the shit, your mind starts playing its own tricks on you. But then the other one is skinning, just like flesh,
The sound,
like that.
yeah.
Whoosh,
It's very,
It's like there's something so satisfying about that. But those are things that you can take back through all of history in archery and everything. Those are two sounds that that other people heard, and it felt good, and it probably even felt better than them because it meant survival. Like you and I can go to Whole Foods and buy a premium steak. Now you can go and buy bison. You could probably buy some elk at some of these higher end grocery stores like that. You can do that now, and we're just complacent to it. But back then, that fleshing, cutting, hide, that sound, and I've done it with stone just to kind of get back to some of that a little bit, just to see how it works, and like kind of in the name of science, and it's still exactly the same. So I've done it with a nice half-face blade, steel fucking badass knife that's hunter skinner, that's designed for hunting and skinning. And I've also done it with a sharp rock,
Nice.
So it's like the sound is exactly the same. So it doesn't have to be with stone. It doesn't have to be primitive. But I think there's something that's genetically built into us primitively that's what makes me feel good when I'm hunting. And then that whole providing for your family and that everything, like I get gratification cooking and grilling my own meat and then serving it to the family. We call it cutting board dinners. It's like everybody gathers around the cutting board. It's not like sit down and whatever. It's just like come to the cutting board, and that's how fast it goes, like.
And there's
very cool.
So much work that goes into that point. So like to get to the point where you're skinning what you shot.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be years of work. It could be thousands of hours of in the gym and prepping your gear, driving, hunting. Like think about the amount of failure that leads up to the point when you actually do get that animal and all. It's nothing's a gimme. There's no like button on Facebook, real quick, instant gratification, man. It's like you work and you earn that thing. And then when it all comes together, you get to sit there and live in the moment. And then, like you said, bring all that food back and enjoy it with your community, with your friends and family. And I don't know about you, but I try to eat as much wild game meat as I can throughout the year, and I genuinely feel good. Like I feel better when I eat it. It makes my body just feel cleaner, more energy, more alert, versus if I'm eating normal stuff from the grocery store every day.
1,000%, man. Like I was just telling Jansen on the way over here, I did 100 days strictly carnivore.
Nice.
And I did it with doctors, and I did it doing blood work, and I did body scans to see, like, am I losing muscle mass or fat, or like, what am I doing, right? It was kind of like a test of myself. And it might be one of the hardest things that I've ever done. Like, I didn't touch a potato chip.
Wow.
No seasoning on the meat.
Oh,
like,
wow,
just
dude.
using animal products. Like, so, like, beef tallow to cook in and stuff like that, like elk steaks.
No dairy? Did you
No
use
dairy, no butter, none of that shit, right? The first 40 days might have been the most miserable time in my life because I'm going through emotional stuff, and it's like you have these fixations and you know, it's just crazy. Like it kind of wrecks. It takes your body a while to get used to it, but then going through it and figuring it out, that I figured out that eating the elk and the deer, because I was just cleaning out my freezer, and I did pretty damn quick when you're only eating meat, and you start eating more of it because you're feeling voids and cravings. It's like, I'm hungry, I'm gonna eat. But I did a full blood panel after that, including this specific one that tracks nutrients and everything. So once we got the 100 days was to get the diet dialed to where I felt good. In that 100 days, I lost like 70 pounds.
Wow.
And a lot of it was muscle mass too, like from the body scans. But it was stuff that I needed to do, is drop my BMI and just like made me so much better in the backcountry, like carrying that weight, like just leaner, meaner, faster, everything, right? Like joint pain, inflammation. But what shocked me and shocked my doctors, they're like, most guys, because they help people through this carnivore journey or diet journey, like professional athletes, they're like, they have to supplement some sort of vitamins or something afterwards. Because I was eating wild game mostly. There's not one thing. I think I had vitamin D and B complex. And it's like, that's what we're meant to fucking eat. That's like a light bulb went off in my head, and it was like, we are meant to eat this way. And he's like, the only thing that I can equate it to, because we were keeping track of it so much, and they had never done it on wild game, they were doing it with guys that were just getting, you know, meat shipped to their doorstep or going to Whole Foods and buying it or whatever. That there's not the same nutritional value. Like the nutritional value is much higher in wild game. And that's Colorado mule deer, elk. There was some bison in it, so some of it. And then to get the fat that I needed, I would eat it like a ribeye or something from Colorado Craft Beef. I had them ship it in. They're like a local ranch, and they don't do hormones or any of that other shit. Really good outfit. People that I've had on the podcast, so I know them like personally, you know. And so anyways, I would eat a ribeye like every 3 days or something, just because you kind of need that fat as becomes your fuel. You know what I mean? Like, so you had to have some fat in there, and the game meat's so lean. But like, I was shocked. My doctors were shocked. They were like, this is why you bow hunt. And I was like, 100%. So now, like, even for me, hunting has become a bigger deal. It's a way for me to sustain life the way I want to sustain it. Like, I don't want to take a bunch of fucking supplements.
No way.
And all that
dude.
sort of stuff.
I'm 40 years old. I wear my prosthetics 12 hours a freaking day. I work out 3, 4, or 5 times a week. I'm active. I'm on my, like, I could not do what I do without eating healthy, without taking care of myself and like looking at like my overall health. I literally could not do it. And I attribute it to like eating a clean diet as best I can. And it's helped me. And I want to be on these prosthetics until the day I freaking die. So if I'm 80 years old and walking with a cane all slow down the sidewalk, that's mission success for what I'm doing right now. Because it's tough and it wears on your body. I remember when we were in the rehab facility in San Antonio, Center for the Intrepid is like a world-class leading facility for prosthetic recovery and burns. and they did all my recovery there. They're phenomenal human beings, and they did studies because they have all this equipment to do analysis and everything. And they studied somebody who had 2 above the knee amputations, and the calorie output was 300% more than when you have normal legs. So I think about that, and it's like I need to eat more. And if I'm eating more, I could potentially just eat a bunch of junk and then gain a bunch of weight. But I gotta continually eat healthy and clean. And it's been really, really good. Like I've noticed a quality of life increase ever since I've started hunting and eating a lot of wild game. Yeah, in the gym.
I know it's factual, man. I did that firsthand.
Yeah,
so,
it's very, very real. And I can tell, like, so if I went to McDonald's, because my kids love McDonald's, if I eat some McDonald's, or if I go out and eat junk, I can feel it. I feel sluggish. I feel tired, and it takes me a while to recoup.
Does it fuck with you cognitively?
Oh,
too?
dude,
Because
so much.
It does me big time.
And with this business, I have a low margin for error as far as me being on my game. I got to be able to be on my game all the time because I'm doing a lot of the back end stuff. And so I think about this, and I was like, I got to eat to perform. Dude, I got to eat to perform. And so it's been really good. Been really, really good.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah.
You have been a huge inspiration to me just for that sheer fact. Like you make me want to I could be doing better. Like, you know what I mean? Like I could be.
Shit, I think the same thing, man, for me.
That's awesome, man. Like it's truly inspirational, man. Like you've inspired me so
Thanks,
much.
brother.
And it's cool that we have these commonalities and are able to share that. And dude, I'm so honored to be sitting here with you right now, you know, because I know that you don't do this very often, and you don't like being put in the spotlight. And
No, sir.
dude, I just wanted to let you know that. I didn't want that to slip by before it slipped out of
thanks,
my
man.
mind. We'll change the subject now because I know you hate this, but
It's all
but
good.
dude, it's been really inspirational to me, like getting to know you, forming a friendship with you,
Yeah.
sharing the same passion, and now to be sitting here with you is fucking rad, man. So
awesome,
it
man.
means a lot to me. And I'm really enjoying this. Let's what is there anything that you want to talk about? This is your fucking show, dude. In my opinion, like, is there anything you want to bring up today? I want to go down some more like hunting stories because you've experienced so much. You like, I look at these mounts that are in here and the stuff that you've shared, and that's inspirational to me too, man. Like, I don't think I've probably been hunting longer than you, and I don't have that resume. You know what I mean?
Been
Like,
pretty dang blessed, man. I've been pretty dang blessed. And in Arizona, there's we have the point system. So like whenever you're hunting and say you put in for the lottery and you don't get picked, your dame doesn't get picked for whatever hunt you want to do, you get an extra point, which is like an extra raffle ticket in the hand every year. And you can build up quite a few. Like if you want to hunt a bighorn sheep, you're looking at 30 points here in Arizona, which means for 30 years of your life, you've been trying to do this one hunt, which is wild. And what it is that
crazy. Some guys get so old that they can't physically like do it.
Oh, it get old.
Same with Colorado is very similar.
I don't know. And I know that they created a pioneer sheep hunt this year where it's a one horn. So you can get drawn if you have a pioneer license. I think if you're old, I don't know the exact age, maybe 60 or something years old, you can get a higher chance of getting a sheep hunt. It's a broke horn ram, but it's tough. So in Arizona, say you put in for 30 years of your life and you can't make your hunt, they have what's called point guard, where you can return your tag and you pay a little extra fee and stuff. But you also have the option to turn in your tag to a veteran organization or a nonprofit that donates tags to disabled vets or kids under the age of 17. And so
the state does that.
The entire state does that. So say you get sick or your job is like, no, you can't take your time off of work. If you pay, I think it's $13 or something like that for your point guard, you turn back in your tag and you keep all your points. And then the next year you can use your points again. You can do that once. Mm-hmm. So that happens a bunch, last minute things. And so there is a boatload of people that turn in their tags every year. And there's not as many people to receive those tags. And so I've actually been really fortunate and had some organizations say, hey, we got this hunt and it's in like a week or it's in 2 days. We need to find somebody. And I've called everybody and I can't find somebody. And I said, well, Yeah, so I've accepted a couple tags on that. But what I like to do is be an intermediary, and every year I'll help find other kids and veterans out of state, in state, all these people that are qualified for the tags, and then get them these hunts. Because a lot of times, if like me, I started hunting. You're gonna hate me for saying this, man, but I started hunting 6 years ago for the first time in my life,
man.
and so I'm way behind the power
I
curve
don't
on
hate you for that.
anything.
I'm proud of you, man.
It's crazy.
I know how much work goes into that.
It's a lot, man.
And then I look at your situation.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is my excuse? You know what I mean? Is what I'm getting at. So like,
I'm
inspirational
stubborn,
to
man.
me. Yeah.
And I just can't quit. I can't do it. And sometimes it's to a fault, like on that antelope hunt where I'm hunting for 2 weeks despite almost drowning.
Almost
but
die.
it's crazy. But so I've had a couple tags come my way because of that, and I've been really fortunate. There's this term called imposter syndrome, and to this day everybody knows what it is, and I get it, and I'm struggle with that all the time. So whenever somebody says, I have a hunt in 2 days, I need to find somebody for it, and I've called 1,000 people and I can't find somebody, and I'm like, okay, I say yes. I still feel guilty for it, and I know that the tag's going to get turned back, but
You shouldn't, man.
So
Fucking take advantage of that, dude. Like,
Yeah.
at some point, the sad truth is you and I aren't going to be able to do this.
I know it's
Whether it's through wildlife policy
yeah.
or us getting old enough to, like, I'm dealing with that with some family members that I've hunted with for years, and I've seen it deteriorate men. It kills them, man.
I'm gonna enjoy this and suck every last drop of life while
You
I can on
absolutely
this
should,
stuff, man.
Yeah, don't feel guilty about that.
But the thing with these tags is that it's not a guided hunt. It's not like a here's your fully set up hunt. It's like you got to figure it out on your own. And so that's where most of the stuff has happened, where it's like, boom, you got a couple days to go, figure it out. And so going back to the military planning, I'll start mission planning from top to bottom, looking at everything, reaching out to any connections, looking at the environment, the terrain, everything, and then go and you got to figure it out. And so I have worked my ass off on these hunts. Like I've covered, I looked at last year, the amount of steps I walked last year. I think I walked like just under 1,000 miles on these freaking prosthetic legs through
Are you serious?
everything. Yeah. Like 1,000 miles, or not quite, but underneath it.
Fucking more ammunition
for an entire
to make me
year.
feel bad, dude.
I walked an average of 3 to 3.5 miles a day on average throughout the whole year. And so I've worked, and it's been harder than success. And I've failed so much. I've failed so many times on, stocks and all kinds of stuff that it's such a steep learning curve. And when I first started hunting, the second year of hunting, I did all over the counter stuff, deer, javelina, bear, all this stuff. I hunted 110 days in the field that year, dude. And that was a serious learning curve. And I failed throughout the whole year. I think I only shot one deer, but it's been really good. And so I've learned and now I feel really confident going into the woods that I have a pretty good chance of success. But I am a 99% bow hunter. I will very rarely go hunt with a rifle. 99% of the time I'm bow hunting. So I know, A, I'm walking on 2 prosthetic legs, and B, I'm shooting a primitive freaking weapon. And so the odds are stacked against me, so that when it comes together, it is the most amazing freaking feeling.
Yeah, the harder something is, the more you appreciate it. For sure. I mean, that's exactly why I bow hunt. That's why I shoot my bow. I don't have the same connection that I do with the rifle, and I just choose not to. And I don't knock anybody that does. I think that they get the same sort of feelings and a gratitude and all that sort of stuff that I do. I think it's all the same. So I'm not knocking it, but just me personally, that's what it is. And then all the times I have so many stories of failure compared to success, right? I mean, we always thrive on those stories of success because they mean so much to us and they're burned in our mind. But like, dude, the amount of times that I felt, well, just go look. You can go on apps and there's fucking all this great data now, and Parks and Wildlife in Colorado keeps track of it, and the states keep track of it, the game agencies, on the success rates, because they know by doing these surveys and all the shit that they do and issuing the tags and managing the game from a biological standpoint, that there are success rates. And you start looking at those success rates for game units and guys that are actually successful, it's very, very small.
I mean,
like some of them aren't even double digits.
Yeah, I think it's 10 or 8% in Arizona for archery bow hunting across like the average for deer. It's so when you look at that and you look at all the work that you put into prepping your bow and shooting and practicing, and then you combine it with all the times you failed, and then you finally get it together, it is the most the most gratifying thing for it all to come together. It is there. It's hard to. It, like you mentioned earlier about the emotional attachment stuff with the deer and all that stuff, like I get emotional every single time I'm successful on shooting something. Like it is like very emotional, and you're so connected with it. And the way I figure is I got to honor that animal by respecting it and eating every little last part of it, and how I treat it, how I handle it when I'm cutting it up and everything. And then, looking at it and thinking through the memory, because nothing's easy.
Also honoring the hunt just by, that's actually part of my mantra.
Yeah.
Right. When I'm shooting my bow and I'm going through my shot sequences to honor the hunt, and then kill is the last one. But
there ain't no black and white about it, man.
no, there isn't. And I think a lot of that goes into having a successful, ethical, however you want those cliche sayings of having that good shot and being confident in that. I think that's the best way to honor that animal is with a quick death. And the most humane death that's out there, I think, is with an arrow.
Yeah, it's quick.
Yeah.
It's super quick. As a pro shop, we get to see a lot of the new products. We get to see a lot of we get to see the after effects of when people see stuff on YouTube, influencers telling them how, you should do this with your bow, you should get this equipment. And we get a lot of folks that don't know and they have the uncertainty of like, should I try this broadhead? Should I try this arrow and other stuff? And what I've learned is that most people just need to like practice and perfect their equipment as best they can, because all that stuff's going to fall in line after you like get really professional with your equipment and that work that leads up to everything. Because
it's training. It's time
Dude,
on target, right?
It's easy to buy stuff. This is going to sound crappy from a business perspective. This is going to make me better,
yeah.
But yeah, I'm going to buy this. I'm going to buy this. And like we legitimately tell people, do not buy this stuff. Do not buy. Like say a lot of folks will say, I want to go to a thumb button release, and they're shooting an index finger, and they see all the people online shooting the thumb button releases, and they think it's going to make them better. And as an example, say you need to working through your target panic and your trigger control and your shot process, rather than just switching to a piece of equipment that $300 is going to make you better. And so that's what we try to work is towards like the essence of archery, the essence of shooting, not just the products that'll make you better. And that goes back into why I love archery so much, because it's not just, you can take a recurve bow and a 40-pound stick bow and go be successful just like they were back in the day.
Absolutely.
It's not just about the equipment, but there's some badass equipment out there that'll get stuff done for sure. And there's a lot of technology that's come a long way. So
yeah, absolutely. I think one little caveat into this too, and I want to lead into this story with, you started telling me a story yesterday about you and Jonathan on an elk hunt. There's a little bit of luck that comes involved with it too. There's been times where I'm like, how in the hell did that happen? I don't know if it's divine intervention or my mindset or just right place, right time. Like you talk to any bow hunter and they'll tell you stories like that. Like hands down, that's one commonality is like, there is some like luck or something that kind of happens every once in a while. So tell me about this horny toad situation, man.
What a segue right there, baby. All right. So me and my buddy Jonathan talked about, he's an infantry veteran, missing an arm, shoots a mouth tab with his bow.
I can't wait to meet him today, by the way, because I've been following him for a while. He's awesome, a badass, dude.
Yeah. He likes the attention limelight.
Okay, so
cool.
We'll put him on camera today.
Oh yeah, dude. So we're on this elk hunt. This is his second elk hunt. He went on one the previous year and just couldn't make it happen. Kind of similar to the antelope story, not without the death.
Just a little caveat into this, and I know you kind of mentioned it for the listeners that don't know or maybe don't follow Jonathan. You absolutely should look up Jonathan's Instagram if you can find it. I think it's Lopez's.
Yeah, Jonathan Lopez or Lopez OEW.
Okay, you need to follow this guy and also follow Caleb, but he has one arm and shoots a bow with a mouth release, right?
Yep.
So yeah, and like you said, he works in here as a bow tech and has figured out how to do everything with one arm.
It's incredible.
It's totally incredible. You physically, well, I guess he's living proof you physically can, but like you kind of, all bows are set up to shoot with two hands,
Yeah.
two arms, right? Like,
So he's got his right arm. He shoots a left-handed bow with his right arm. And he's got a super short draw length now because he's missing all those extra inches pulling back. So that's why he shoots such a high poundage so that he can get good speeds. But it's wild to shoot with him because he can draw back his bow and talk to you out of the side of his mouth while he's holding the freaking bow in his teeth. And I'm looking like that thing's going to rip out of your mouth. And he'll just have a conversation with you out of the side of his mouth while he's at full draw. And it's crazy. And he can hold a lot longer than we can because he's not holding with his rear shoulder. He's straight pushing. And he can hold that bow way longer than anybody else. And he's rock solid. It's crazy.
that's insane.
We shot our first total archery challenge together, and he was shooting targets out to 100 yards with me. I mean, back in Utah, it was badass.
It's fucking amazing, man.
Badass. So we find ourselves in this freaking elk hunt, man, and we were up in northern Arizona, and this was the best elk hunt I've ever been on, and I've been on several, and it was everything you want, man. Active elk, lots of elk, big elk, pine trees, junipers, glassing, calling, spot and stalk, sitting wild. Like it had everything, and I
love it. I'm getting goosebumps.
Dude,
right
it was
now.
the best.
Yeah.
And so we were on I think it was day 4 or 5, and the wind was howling that day. I mean, like it was to the point where it could have knocked me over on my prosthetic legs. Like it was probably 30 miles plus, and we were glassing in the morning. First thing in the morning, we see a spike, and Jonathan's like, you know what? I never shot an elk. We're going to go after this spike. And right behind the spike was a big herd with a herd bull, but there was like 30 plus cows. And so we were worried about the eyeballs. So both the spike and the herd were heading separately into the mountains from the flats in the morning. So we're like, let's go. So we start hauling ass as fast as I can, walking to try to cut them off. We're getting behind them, obviously, because elk always move quicker than you.
They're
so
so
they
fast,
freaking, so they're moving quicker. And then they're on our right side moving in the hills, and on our left side comes a real big bull on the base of the mountain going up. So we have all these elk converging into one spot, and we end up being behind them. We couldn't catch any of them. So we're walking behind them, and for 5 hours, we follow these elk up ridge, and trying to set up calling sequence and getting them to come in a little bit, but couldn't get a shot. And there ended up being 3 herds and 3 herd bulls moving into the same area, and because it was so windy, they were screaming. I mean,
Rut
like,
fest,
dude,
huh?
it was great. I mean, like the best rut fest you could ever. I mean, like screaming at each other. They were screaming so bad that they started getting hoarse and stuttering. It was awesome, dude. Awesome. So 5 hours later, we're getting close to the top of this mountain, and we come up over this little ridge. And let me back up a second. So
Yeah, take as long as you want. We got time. So
a couple years ago, I was hunting on the Kaibab on North Rim of the Grand Canyon, and the guide up there said that whenever you find a horny toad, it's good luck. So during this day, we saw 3 horny toads. We saw 3. I found one by myself, and then leading up to it, or like halfway through the day, me and him saw another one come across our feet. And then we saw another one a little bit later on. It was wild. So fast forward back to where the final ridge.
The guy that told you this, just another bow hunter or something?
He's a
or?
guide. He guides. His name's Russ
Oh, so
Jacoby.
he's spending a lot of time.
He's the bison whisperer up there on the North Rim. He guides bison up there all the time, and so that's his thing. Is horny toads are good luck. I mean, somebody's going to shoot a bison that day, which
Really?
is super cool. And so we saw 3 this day, and we crested over this final ridge, getting close to the top of the mountain. And we heard just below us, maybe 40, 50 yards in the trees, a huge herd bull screaming with his cows. And then all of a sudden, another 30 yards past him, we saw a real big bull walk across and start feeding broadside to us. And he's like 120 yards away. And he starts screaming, but he was the one that was stuttering and getting hoarse. He was like he couldn't finish the bugle.
Right.
I was like, no way. And I was like, Jonathan, you got to go kill that bull. You got to go kill that bull. So he's like, all right. So I stayed back. And I lay down on my back, and I'm start cow calling, keeping him active so that Jonathan can find him. And Jonathan makes a big wide circle around, gets the wind perfect. and I'm watching the bull and I'm praying to God right now. Like, I'm like, please God, please let him shoot this freaking bull. Let him shoot this bull. And I'm chirping like a cow. Please God. Like, it was just, and I'm watching
You'll
through my
find your
binos.
faith real quick when it comes into situations like this.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
And that bull comes into a clearing and I'm watching him through my binos. And all of a sudden I saw him run away and I was like, oh no. And he just, cause he bolted and I was like, oh no, he got spooked. And then I sat there and I was like, wait a minute. He didn't turn and look towards Jonathan at all. He didn't like stop and stare at him. He just immediately started running and was like, he had to have shot him. Jonathan calls me up and he's all like shaking and he's like, I shot him. He's like, I shot him. I was like, okay. So then we went through the process of like, mark your spot, look for your arrow, set a timer, don't go after him, et cetera, et cetera. And then I made my way over to him and he told me that he was stalking in and he was like, I only got one arm and I have my bow and I have this attachment where I can hook my bow to my hip belt because it's got a thing called the bow spider, and I can set it in there, take my rangefinder, put my rangefinder down, take my bow out and do it. And he's like,
yeah, it's like a magnetic bow clip. I want to dive into that too.
They're cool
later today.
So he's like all the time. And he's like, what I started doing is I started guessing my range. As I was stalking in, I would range trees just to be able to estimate where the distance would be. And so he's like, okay, so I'm looking all these things. And all of a sudden he's like, I looked down a little bit below me and this freaking bull's broadside at me. And I was like, he's like, I think it was 20 yards. So he guessed 20 yards. He drew back, made a perfect shot, smacked him, and he ran. And then he ranged it, and it was 20 yards on the dot. And he's like, right before I shot, and right before that bull stepped out, like a minute, he's like, I looked and a horny toad crawled across my foot.
No, what? Across?
Not on his foot, but like right there in front of his foot. And then all of a sudden he looked up and then the bull was there and he freaking shot it. And so we just sat there and we were just all fucking excited. Like we saw a little bit of blood. We were just sitting there waiting. And I was like, dude, I've seen a lot of things from the hunting. I talked to a lot of people. I was like, we're waiting 1 hour. We were waiting. We were waiting an hour.
Yeah.
And because everybody wants to go after their thing right away, unless you see that sucker dead.
Like you instantly almost like want to pounce on it, you know?
You got to be quiet. You can't hoot and holler. Unless you see that sucker dead, you got to wait an hour. Cause I know too many elk get lost, unfortunately, and animals in general. So we waited and we started following the blood trail and, it was okay. The blood trail, it was definitely lung blood, but it's not as much as we would have liked. But I have learned that elk, for some reason, just don't like to bleed as much. Like a lot of the time, they don't bleed as much as you'd want them.
They're so tough, man.
It's ridiculous.
They're so tough.
And so we followed it and went downhill. He's running downhill. I'm like, yes. But it was lung blood, and we knew we could follow his tracks. Followed him for about a quarter mile downhill, and he's just piled up right there dead. And then we got to celebrate. And it was exciting, like just hugging and stuff. And we're sitting there, it was just like so, like the moment he shot. This is a big deal for him to shoot a giant elk. Like it ended up being close to 350 bull. It was a good elk, and so we sat there and we celebrated. And then the reality of what is about to happen just dawned on us, and we're like, all right, we got a dude with one arm and a guy with no legs are about to do an elk by themselves and got to hike it out.
Yeah.
And then we looked and we're like, oh shit, we hardly have any water left. So we hung our camelbacks up and we started rationing the water because we had maybe 12 ounces total water left.
No.
Oh, we had hardly any and we were by ourselves. One of our guys had to go back to work. So he was driving to Tucson, turned around and started driving back. And so I don't remember if it was 3 or 4 hours, we cut up this elk, me and him. He would hold the hide with one hand and I would be skinning, and then we'd shift positions. This giant elk, and I can lift some weight, but awkward, heavy objects are super tough for me.
Yeah, especially people don't realize there's still blood and it moves, man. Unless you have a good pack, dude,
dude. And
yeah.
it was, so I had to sit on the ground, and this is where me and him were talking about it. And we had spent the past 6 months in the gym working out like crazy hard. And we would bring a target outside my gym and we would shoot the target in the middle of workouts. And we worked out like crazy. And we're like, dude, this is crazy how this is paying off right now because we're able to do this. So it took us 4 hours to cut this sucker up. And then we realized that we were closer to camp than we were to his truck because we had gone so far. So we loaded up the first load of gear. We walked all the way to camp. It was a couple miles, dropped that off, picked up my truck. And then we were able to drive all the way up to the elk on the mountain there through the trees. And in Arizona, you can drive to your elk in a straight line.
Oh, that's incredible.
And we loaded it up. And so I'm not a huge guy on organ meat. Like I'll eat the organ meat, but this is his first time. He's like, I want heart, I want liver, I want kidneys, all that stuff.
Take it all, man.
Well, he can't get into it, so it's me. And so
You're a good friend, dude.
Bro, all that blood that wasn't on the ground was in there, and this elk's laying aside, and I went swimming.
Yeah.
I went he's holding it, and I like my entire upper body is like inside the cavity, grabbing that liver. Yeah. And I was like, I told him, I was like, I will never do this for you again. I love you, bro. This is it. I'm like, so we looked like savages walking down the dirt road, covered in blood because we have no water to clean ourselves off. Nobody saw us, but we just were talking like, what if somebody comes across us, man? We're just soaked in blood everywhere. Yeah. It's crazy. But it was just, dude, it was awesome. Like, it was the best elk experience of my life to share it with somebody, to know like the work that went into it, all the training, like months and hours and, hundreds and thousands of pounds of weight lifted for this one moment. And we didn't give up too, because we were close to giving up on those elk towards the top, because we're like, we cannot get them. They're out of sight. We don't know where they are anymore. We're not hearing them. Like, let's just keep going the next ridge. And that final ridge is when it came together, and it was incredible. It's a core memory for me for sure in my life.
That's so epic, man. It's so epic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
That's incredible. Man, my hat goes off to both of you guys too, dude. Like that's so much work, man. I love, as much as like being covered in blood and being almost like embarrassed about it, there's something primal about it too.
Dude.
It's like, dude, we are fucking badasses, that sense of accomplishment and camaraderie. It's like, I bet you that made your guys' friendship a lot tighter, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I think like facing that adversity a little bit with somebody is like, it's for fucking real, man. Like,
it's tough. There's nothing like we call it military type 2 fun, because it's like tough, and there's nothing easy about it, And then getting back to camp, you get to share a swig of whiskey, and he told me about when he got his elk all processed. He's got 2 boys, like 15 and 17, and his boys were like all about the meat. They wanted that meat, so he would come home, and they would be like thawing his tenderloins and be like trying to claim them and stuff like that. So he's passing it on to those kids, but it's so fun. 17 and 15.
Okay, yeah.
And they're like, he's like, "Are you kidding me?" He's like, "I'm gonna get a lock for this freezer. Yeah. This is more important. I'm gonna whoop their ass, because they're just trying to claim it and cook it, set it up for their friends. Like, they have no idea the amount of work that went into that elk and how prized it is."
Yeah.
Oh, it's awesome.
That's awesome, man. Like, I get the same thing at home with my kids, because they've just been around it. They've eaten game meat since they were little.
Yeah.
And they know the difference between, like, you put a ribeye in front of them, they're like, what is this? Mm-hmm. Like, this is disgusting, Like, I can't deal with this fat and all, like, the stuff. And it's funny. They're like, when I'm home or when I come home, or I those nights where I am cooking for the family or something, they're like, what are we having? Are we having bison, mule deer, or elk? Or like, what's on the menu? Like, they want to know, And then it's so cool. Like, if you start getting into the butchering process, it can turn into a family thing. Like, sometimes depending on time and time of year, like, but the last couple bison that I did with Donnie, with those archaeological experiments that we did,
that was
with
awesome.
Stone tools and stuff. I'd come home and I would just take over the island, which is about the size of your Bowtech table. And it just turns into like a family thing where they're not playing Xbox. They're not watching movies. We might have some stick figure on in the background or something. We're just cutting up meat. My youngest is 7 years old. She's drawing flowers on the butcher paper.
Nice.
So now, like, every time you pull a bison steak out, there's some sort of little piece of like artwork. But then also they have a connection with the meat, and I think it just makes everything taste better. I think that's why you crave that sort of meat, and we talked about it nutritionally and scientifically and all that sort of shit. And you don't even have to go down that road to know that it means more to you. Mm-hmm. It's so
you value it. You don't want to throw any away.
Absolutely.
Anything that I'm going to throw away, I'm going to give it to my dogs. Like, I'll take bones and
I defeat them,
smoke them, so they get all that stuff. Yeah.
You know what I've gotten into, and who turned me onto it, is bone marrow.
I've heard a lot about that. I've tried it a couple times, and I like it.
To the point where I'm thinking about packing skeletons out if I can, or at least leg bones, where most of that stuff.
If you can, why not, dude? All the stuff that comes in that.
I did an elk 2 years ago where we had time, the weather was good and everything, and I always wanted to do like some bone-in, like ribeye type stuff, and I kind of fucked them up, honestly. I need to take some like real butchering lessons, and I have access to like some amazing people through the podcast. Actually, one of them, the dudes, this guy Jason the Butcher, that's what he teaches Special Forces guys and Green Beret guys how to properly select and butcher in the field, and they've designed this whole trailer to go behind whatever side by side or whatever. That's like it's got like a little freezer, like it runs off solar panels.
Oh, nice.
So they can store the meat, so they're not eating MREs while they're deployed or whatever. It's a pretty cool program,
dude. When you watch those guys butcher, and then I compare it to what I do,
yes,
I feel so terrible.
Yeah, because they're just sharpen my skills in tuning a bow and butchering. Man.
They're just like all cutting up. Here's the top round. Here's the sirloin. Boop, 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 done. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm just like barely scraping through it.
Yeah.
It's actually a really good idea to learn how to do that properly, to cut the meats into the pieces. Because I've like my first couple elk I did myself with my wife. Butchering up and everything, and it took me a couple days to do it all because I didn't know. We did a lot of grinding.
A lot of cutting. Yeah. No, it's cool, man. It's an incredible process, but it makes it so much more surreal. Like I have always wondered, like, do I taste something different than somebody I'm serving it to? You know what I mean? Because I have that emotional connection, or does this taste better to me, or something like that? But.
It could be, man, because I've been eating a lot of bear lately, and I know that some of my family members have had a negative experience with bear because it wasn't prepared right, and the person that cooked it kept a bunch of fat on it.
Yeah,
you can't eat that fat because it coats your mouth. And so when I would, I've shot a couple bears, and when I bring it, they're like, I don't know, and they have this story, like it's a connection to the past and that memory. And then I was like, this bear is phenomenal. So I cooked it up, and they were like, wow, this is really, really good. And it was enough to change their mind a little bit, but they didn't enjoy it as much as I did. I mean, I'm the one that shot it, so I'm going to enjoy the heck out of it. But it's interesting how that food has so much emotion attached to it,
Yeah.
Especially something like that where they're like, oh, this was gross, and it stuck with them for 30 years or something like that,
Yeah, it's crazy how one thing like that will be... I fucking hate pickles. I still don't like it. But I've tried them again. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like, get those out of my face, dude. Like, don't put any pickles on my burger, dude. Yeah. Like, get the hell out of here with that. Like, but it's just like a personal thing, and it's like stuck with me since I was a kid. And honest, like, if that gets ingrained in you, it's like, no, I don't eat that,
I get it. I got stuff from a kid, green beans and peas and just stuff like that as a kid. Can't do it, man.
Peas are horrible. Yeah. I don't know. Peas are all right. It's got to be like in fried rice or something, though.
I can get that with that, or like a fresh.
Something really horrible for you with a lot of MSG.
Yeah.
So in this 6 years of hunting, I think also, too, like, it's not just 6 years of hunting, because I think a lot of your military practice, I mean, you were hunting, you just weren't traditionally hunting.
Yeah.
Animals, right? Like, so I know that it's very different, and I have no room to talk because I've never done that, but yeah, in that 6 years that you've spent in all your experience, like, what's a bucket list hunt for you? Do you still have one, or have you checked a lot of those boxes, or is it like...
I got a bucket list hunt. I have a bucket list hunt, and it may kill me, but I want to kill a brown bear with a bow, or a grizzly with a bow.
Nice.
And that's my bucket list hunt. And so I've looked into it. I know they're pretty costly, so they may be something that
prohibits like Russia or something. Or
I haven't looked into Russia. I've looked into Alaska, and it's super expensive. Or if you go to Alaska and you get like a moose tag, you can get a brown bear on it. If it comes in and claims somebody's carcass, you can shoot it on a moose tag. But they do some tree stand baited brown bear hunts, which would be doable. But I think about that, and I'm like, fuck, what happens if it climbs up the tree at you? Because black bears are a whole different story. I have respect for them, but there's not a fear there for black bears after seeing and being around them a lot.
Right.
Brown and grizzly bears are a whole nother story. I've only had one interaction with a grizzly in Idaho once, and just seeing it close by was just like, you have a very healthy respect for them, and you know that
it puts you in your place.
Dude,
That's nature putting you in your place.
yeah.
Man. Yeah.
So my bucket list is to kill a black or a brown bear or a grizzly bear someday with a bow. I don't know if that would ever happen, and if it doesn't, I'm okay if that's the universe or God telling me it doesn't need to happen, because I've had so many close calls with death. So I don't know. I've just been, Arizona is so diverse, and I've been really blessed with a lot of hunts. Someday I might like to travel to other states and go hunt. My buddy does Sika. He does like a canoe trip up in Maryland, up into the marshes, and hunts Sika deer, stuff like that.
Really?
Sounds interesting.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
Like to go in on a canoe and
Dude, and into like a place where you can't access by foot or with vehicle. You have to go out into like the channel, canoe all the way back into a preserve, and then bring all your gear, and then set up your tree stand, like
badass.
camp in the marsh. I like the adventure of it, and because I've had a lot of hard-earned success, I'm more about the adventure and the journey versus just the kill. And so, like, if I go somewhere and I have a great hunt and I don't get anything, I'm totally cool with that. Like, so right now I'm going to Canada in a couple of weeks to go hunt black bear with the rivets.
oh, nice.
And
John and Jess. Or
Yeah,
something,
John
right?
and Jen.
Yeah, they're good people, man. Right?
They are such good. They
Dude,
are.
how did you land that? That's lucky, man. Like, it's hard to get in with them.
This is my third year going, dude. With them.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
I got connected with them through Black Rifle Coffee.
Okay.
And I went a few years back, and I hunted with them, and I was like, this is amazing. And I like the quality of the hunt, because they put on a huge, like, the quality of what they do is incredible. They're very professional. They work the bears year round. They have lots of bears. And so you get a chance to sit there and select the proper bear. Because say you're out here in the wild and, out west, you see a bear, you're like, yeah, that's the one bear I'm going to see for a year or whatever, and you want to shoot it. And in this place, you can select the biggest, most mature boar male and take it out. Versus, you have the opportunity, and bear hunting is super hard if you're not being selective about it. So
Yeah.
I really like their operation that they have, and I'm actually taking my my hunting mentor Jesse, who took me on my very first hunt, and he from Jesse's Little Warriors, and he is the kind of guy who's selfless, and nobody does anything for him because he won't let him, because he is the most giving man I've ever met in my life. And so I pretty much forced him. I was like, we're paying for your hunt. You're going on this hunt with us. And that's the end of it. And so he kind of just had to choke it down, and we're going to go together, and it's going to be a really good hunt.
That's so rad.
Yeah, I'm really excited about
Oh, man,
that.
you'll have to fill me in. We got to come down here more often or something, man. This has been awesome. We're kind of coming up on time. To take it back to this shop and this amazing space and Stick Sniper, before we kind of end this thing, what do you guys got coming up? I know you guys do stuff outside of the shop, like you just did a 3D shoot.
Yeah.
Do you guys do lessons here? Like, what's the best way to support Stick Sniper and you? And
That's awesome, man. We like to be real grassroots about stuff and a lot of personal relationships. So we don't do like a ton of marketing. We got social media, so we got t-shirts and hats and sweatshirts on our online shop on sticksniper.com. And we're on Instagram.
It's
and
amazing
Facebook.
stuff too, like high quality. Like, I'm buying some today.
Dude,
so,
I love.
yeah.
I'm a sucker for good swag, and so I was like, I got a good graphic designer. He made some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
But we do lessons. Jonathan is our instructor. We do lessons. We just put on a huge competitive 3D shoot last weekend. Coming up probably soon, I'm going to be doing some bow hunter introduction to bow hunter courses, where we do classroom portion, field portion, stalking and shooting 3D targets. We do like indoor leagues a couple times a year. We do a lot of stuff with kids. We did stuff with some middle school and high school kids recently, and we do ladies' nights and like a lot of community-based stuff, man. It's good. It's like really, really good.
That's rad.
Yeah.
Well, Tucson's lucky to have you, dude. I'm lucky to be
brother.
here. Thank you so much for having us. I'm really excited. We got to shut down the podcast because the shop's about to open here pretty soon. And you guys got probably people waiting out there to get their bows worked on right now. So we're going to shut this down, but I'm so excited to hang out with you today.
Man.
We're going to get a little bit of shooting in, just get to hang out and have some fun. And we're going to film some of that today. So look for that outside of the podcast. If you're made it this far, 2 hours and 20 minutes into this thing and you want more, look for our other content on YouTube or wherever. Also, in the show link or in the show notes, wherever you're listening to this, or if you're watching on YouTube, there's direct links to Caleb's Instagram, to Stick Sniper Instagram, your website. Also want to thank SABO and Jansen for making this possible, and super cool experience. Do you have fun today, Jansen?
I did.
All right, cool. Thanks for being here, man. And thanks for making this possible. Definitely check out these broadheads. They're revolutionary. Yeah. I'm excited to probably hunt with them this season if we get them all set up and everything. And yeah, man, I'm so fortunate and blessed. And thank you, man. Thanks again, man. You mean a lot to me. And you've been a huge inspiration to me, and you make me want to be a better person, dude.
Thanks, brother.
And I appreciate your hospitality.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Thanks for coming out, and really, really happy that we crossed paths, man, years ago, and giving me a platform to talk about what we do here, man. It's awesome. So
yeah,
thanks for
love
coming.
You, brother, man.
Yeah,
keep crushing it, and
right,
keep the team together too. So
yeah,
thanks for your time. Thanks everybody for listening. See you.
My feet